I don't. This might not mix well with M43, but
Well, we have to try
we're gonna
it.
find out.
These tequila nooners.
Hit us on the
You guys are professionals.
ring light, will you please?
Sorry, my job.
Good. I want to start off.
Is it plugged in?
No.
Prob's not.
It's weird that someone would unplug it at that section.
It's still not plugged in over there, I don't think.
No, it's
I
not.
have it on right now.
No, that see that where that like
Yep.
bat where the
Okay.
Who's on? I mean,
there we go.
Got it.
We have liftoff.
bright light.
So this will be our first experience with the tequila high nooners.
I know. I'm so pumped.
So
What kind you get?
passion fruit.
Hey, first of all, out of the gate, how you gonna do me like that on the opener?
Oh, yours might be flat, huh?
It was already open.
I'm about to cut the shit out of my hand trying to do this here.
Yeah, but what? Was it already open?
No,
Yeah.
I hit the thing.
Oh, it broke.
Shout out to Ridge Wallets gonna make this happen. Got it.
Blanco tequila with real fruit juice.
I got-
sparkling water, natural flavors.
I got passion fruit. What'd you get?
passion fruit, tequila seltzer.
Oh, say what? Let's go! Pizza!
Let's go!
Let's go!
Tony made the rule.
Hey!
Tony,
Ding dong.
Tony made the rule. There's no eating and smacking on the mic.
I know. We'll
You gotta do like when I got a burp. You gotta
We'll figure it
like
out.
that dude.
Oh,
Hey.
dude, hey.
It's
What
rough.
up-
Hey,
what up with
there.
these things?
Look, maybe they're focusing on content over the container.
Wait a second. These can't be new containers. You know what they did? They went with a different can supplier.
They did.
Save a little coin.
Hey, this tequila costs a little more than this vodka.
They're like, after a couple, they don't care how they
yeah,
open
right.
it.
I think it's a sign you shouldn't.
Open it with a set of keys if you have to. Shotgun it.
You shouldn't be drinking high noon.
Oh, boy. This is not good.
This is gonna be a mind eraser summer. Look, Nick's gonna come off the bench.
Summer
we're gonna
2023.
we're gonna call in the closer in about a month or so. What do we got?
I have to make it through
What,
2023.
You want some?
what do we got? No, not the whole month.
The whole year, you
You
mean?
want some of
No,
this?
the whole year. Yeah.
TK.
Yes, I most certainly do. I need some napkins though. Hold on.
Here. What we got? We got some paper too. We should. I'm gonna spill a drink again.
So
I mean, you know that's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. There's a whole bunch right there.
I don't want to use this podcast to get deep into conspiracy theories or anything
Let's.
again, like always. But
I think this might be the best avenue for it.
Riker inadvertently on our
Hey,
way
it's a piece of pie.
on our way to his wrestling banquet. We're driving, and he's looking up out of the window, and he says, "Dad, you see those birds on the power lines up there? Those are the ones that the government have watching us."
Yeah, they're
And I was like, "How do you know that?" And he said, "That's why they land on those power lines. They're charging back up." And I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, I never thought of that.
Do not let him have a conversation with Uncle Chad.
Yeah.
Because
If Chad
It'll
should
be
call
dull
in right
and
now.
dull.
Chad told this to my family. His like the conspiracy about birds not being real.
All birds.
So my sister's got him a shirt that says "Birds aren't real." He's got legit.
Riker said
legit-
some are. He just said the ones that land on the power lines are recharging. And I'm like, where did you hear that? And he's like, YouTube. Same place where he heard about flicking the bean at Chicago.
He's a chip off the old block.
Oh, it's hilarious.
He's going down rabbit holes about flicking the bean and rechargeable birds.
Well, that's what's crazy. YouTube's got so much stuff on there. It's like, you got to like try to moderate what they see.
do you think somebody could get to the end of YouTube?
I just burped.
And,
Like what kind of
like in a lifetime?
yeah.
No.
I don't think so. I don't think that even if you had like a jump start, like a head start, like you're like, okay, I'm 60% through YouTube. Go. I don't think you can keep up with the content that's coming in.
No.
Even if you had a steady stream of I'm gonna watch these videos one after another after another.
But people are
No
also
way.
cutting stuff up like crazy too. So they're doing like, you get videos and compilations off of videos and compilations. You know what I mean? So it's like you can see the same thing but kind of mixed into other stuff.
I think even
Yeah.
if you segregate it to like let's say the top 10% of YouTube posters, I still don't think you can keep up. I think there's just way too much content coming in.
There is. I agree with that.
I feel like I discover something new every day.
This pizza's bussin', by the way.
Oh, dude.
Jack's got it figured out with his thin crust.
No, this is the meat. It's the meat pizza. It's the meat eater.
Bro.
How you feeling about that high noon?
I like it. But I feel like this is going to this is going to nullify anything that we do on Monday nights at Golf League. Tequila's a whole different animal, right? This is not vodka anymore.
We're going to be out there golfing naked.
Seven vodka seltzers deep is totally different than 7 tequila
We paid for this
seltzers
league.
deep.
We paid for this league. Listen, you let us sign up. We're tailgating in the parking lot.
Did you guys pay? Yeah, we gave you a thumbs up, bro. Yeah,
Well-
sounds good.
And we told you about this, right? What we do.
Tailgating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't like this league, there's a lot of like beer leagues, right? Softball or whatever, but we go, most people are going, they want to be semi-serious about playing, which we do. It's not like we're just out there fucking around, but we show up in the parking lot loose, just Jeep full of high noons, blaring some country music.
Is that just that league, or do you do the same for your Moors or not?
No, not at the Moors. That they wouldn't like that.
We totally frowned upon.
They wouldn't like me bringing a fistful of my own drinks.
Yeah, about that.
I'm always in bad shape after I leave the Moors.
No, people love to drink there.
No.
And I have drank after a round in the parking lot, but you're drinking in the clubhouse. You're not in the parking lot getting hammered.
Yeah.
So,
That's how we do it.
but
It works out well.
But we started it and we never stopped. And then we would have, a few people would stop in and, hey.
Did you see my?
And we'd offer them a drink. They'd hang out for a few minutes.
I think that might be
this
the
is
funnest part is when we try to sucker everyone else into tailgating with us. I'm like, no, maybe after the round. I'm like, no. Stop being a little bitch and drink before the round. That's when you know who good golfers are and not good golfers are. And believe that. Todd's a good golfer. I'm not a good golfer. So we just crush these high noons in the parking lot and get after it and then go shoot out of our minds and have the best time. Mm-hmm. You know? But yeah, no. Every once in a while we would see like your Jeep in the parking lot when we come back. Mm-hmm. Was there another league? Did you say there was like a church league or something going on?
That was when Angie would play.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, it was when Angie was there.
Yeah.
So there was a women's something.
Yeah, there was a new
Like,
life.
oh shit, Nick's here. No, Nick's not here.
New Life had a.
Yeah, the women would play on Mondays.
Mhm.
And then
We played on Tuesdays.
guys would play.
They're actually gonna try to make our Tuesday one. I think we're gonna do a scramble style. Like you'll have a partner, but actually keep it real.
Like
I
a
mean,
two-man scramble league. Two-man scrambles are kind of fun. That's what we did when I went down with my brother when they invited me with his buddies down to Georgia.
You know, it's
And it was super fun.
we didn't have like a league back in Brit, and I didn't. Once I was an adult, I wasn't around Brit much, but I did come back a couple summers after like college time, and the Thursday night men's night it was called at the country club. They would do different games and stuff, but one thing that they did, not while I was there, but I heard later, was a one-man scramble. So basically, you get a rocket 2 balls off the tee box, and which is pretty cool because like, what's usually like you duff one, you drop another one right away, and you crank it. You know what I mean? It's like they would throw out some good scores. Mm-hmm. Did you guys see my 007 video?
Yeah.
You didn't see it?
0 greens in regulation, 0 fairways in regulation, 7 3-putt putts.
It was like your 0 fairways in regulation, 0 greens in regulation,
see
and then
that.
it was like you score a 7.
I don't think I saw that. But there's a name for that guy. Sorry, I'm chewing it right into the microphone, aren't I?
Well, I can say something funny too. When I was at the Moors, Dan, he always like jokes about, like someone who hits a good drive. He's like, after you get to your second shot and you duff it, like the comment to make.
Nice drive, though.
Nice drive though.
Yeah, it's because Bossy makes that comment. This 70-year-old guy that's out there, and he's a freaking riot. He's like the funnest guy. He's a great golfer, and he's a fun guy to play golf with. He has all these little sly comments. He's hilarious. But the one-man scramble. So I was golfing with a vendor, up at, I don't remember where we were. They took me up golfing in northern Michigan somewhere, and we were playing, and he did that. So he duffed one. He's like, I'm driving another one. Maybe it was a putt or something. He makes the putt. He's like, that's Bubba. He's a scratch golfer with a big old dick, but he never wants to hit first. And he's from Georgia, so he had this southern draw. He's like, and then every time somebody would hit one, and then you drop and hit the next one or whatever, and then hit it good. He goes, that's Bubba, scratch golfer. Never wants to hit first. But yeah, I think they did a one-man scramble at the Moors once.
I'd like to try it. I mean, I'll do sometimes, like back when I was a member at Heritage and it was slow, like in the afternoon or something. Like I would actually write on my scorecard like white ball, yellow ball. Sure. And I wasn't scrambling, but I would just play too. But it's funny how like this, like on the holes, like it seemed like if I was hitting the yellow ball second all the time, it just seemed like it was better. Like because from distance you get one shot at the 150 out, and you're like, oh, I'm moving up to 140, and it's like, oh, such a better shot.
I agree. On the whole, preparation H does feel good. Anybody know what that's from?
I know what preparation H is.
What Austin Powers movie was that where they go through, they're like, this is preparation H. Do you agree it feels good? And he's like, I agree. On the whole, preparation H does feel good.
Oh, on the whole. Got it.
That's Austin Powers.
Dude, some of the, like, Mike Myers might be one of the, like, look, we almost take for granted some of the neighbors we get from the north and like how great they are, and like the good ones were like, yeah, you're American, and the bad ones were like, yeah, you're Canadian. Stay north. But Mike Myers is like secretly might be one of the funniest people you ever come across. You know, the next generation doesn't really know. There's not a whole lot of content. The last series he put out, it was like an Illuminati spoof type series that was on Netflix. Not so great, but like all those Austin Powers movies are just, they're so great.
Well, it was hilarious. My wife and I were like, wow, we should watch some old movies with the kids. And I was like, let's get these Austin Powers movies. So we bought them, and then I was like, let's rewatch them. So we started rewatching them. We looked at each other like 30 minutes in. This was like 2 years ago, so our kids are in middle school. I'm like, we cannot show our kids this because every joke is about like going to Pound Town or something. It's just like, and it's so subtle. They would be like, but they're just old enough to get it. But you're like, you're not. But you're not old enough to. We don't want you hearing this
We're on
quite
thin
yet.
ice out here.
You know what I mean? It's hilarious. But you're like, do we really want our kids to watch this yet? Like now, they're in high school. They could probably watch it. But
have you guys heard of the TV show Shrinking? I think it's on Apple TV. It took like an episode and a half or 2 episodes or so for me to like it. I told Angel, I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to like this or not, but yeah, it's hilarious.
Who's in it? Anybody?
That Jason Segel,
Okay.
Harrison Ford, and
I've heard of it,
and I think it's maybe Jessica Richardson, maybe.
I don't have Apple TV.
Anyways, if you get a chance, like I think we watched the first 7 or 8 episodes, but this comedy is
give
like,
me that password and username. I'm gonna check it out.
well, you should. Coming up next week, though, Ted Lasso's coming out with its 3rd season. Did you watch any Ted Lasso?
I don't have Apple TV.
Anyways, well,
I haven't watched a single episode
okay,
of Ted Lasso.
but I've heard it's amazing.
Hey, perfect time to get the trial, but watch Shrinking.
Go buy an iPad
And catch up on
Apple TV for free.
Can you put Apple TV on an Android TV?
Is
Not
there
without
such thing as
like
an Android
sparks
TV?
and shit coming out.
Every TV is an Android TV.
Smart TVs are, yeah. I mean, you're gonna. It's an app.
Ambidextrous. They go left and right.
Point is with Ted Lasso coming back out on their 3rd season, it'd be a good time to binge the first 2 seasons, and then you'll be able to go right into 3. But
how much is Apple TV?
I don't even know.
Probably
I
about
know
10. If I had to guess, about $10. But I had a trial for Apple TV, and I had two series on there I thought were phenomenal. One was For All Mankind. Right? Did you watch that at all? So that's like if America and Russia were flip-flopped in the space race, and we were playing catch-up to Russia. Super good. It was great.
We established last week that nobody actually won that.
It was all farcical. Right, but the other TV show was Mythic Quest. It has Rob McElroy and the same guy from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and he's like the head of a video game studio, and they're trying to pump out like the next big hit video game. It is extremely funny. It's great.
So they have a podcast. It's Always Sunny podcast.
Dude, it's great.
I know.
Dude.
My wife just turned me on to it. It's freaking. Do you
Charlie
like It's Always
Day
Sunny?
might be one of my favorite people on this planet.
But
Dude, he's great.
yeah, these guys are they're so funny. I guess my wife said Danny DeVito was on it the other night, just cutting these guys up.
Dude,
Dude's
an American
80
treasure.
He's an 80-year-old gremlin.
What was the name of the show
is
you
the
were talking
best.
about? It's
Myth-
2 shows.
Mythic Quest
That's the first one.
is the funny one. The other one is For All Mankind.
Gotcha.
Yep. It's dude. So it starts out with like the whole space race. Yeah, hit me with more. Hit me with one more, player. You know I can't say no to Jack's Pizza. Come on, son. Oh, yeah. All right. So it starts off with NASA recruiting everyone. And yeah, this kind of dips into what we talked about last week, but recruiting a bunch of people to backfill all the positions they need on the space race. But Russia's already been there. And the series like evolves into what's going on the moon, like conflicts on the moon, like we're there and Russia's there at the same time, and who's trying to establish dominance on who owns the moon. Because okay, think about it. If there's a celestial body, if there's some other planet that we're going to, first person there, like ownership is 9/10 of the law, right? Possession's 9/10 of the law. If you get there first and you're like, nah, we already own this.
Is that
Piss off.
Is that the celestial rule?
Unless a more
space
badass person
pirates
comes.
or around
Right.
here.
That's how it works in
Exactly.
Guardians of the
Right.
Galaxy.
Unless
Bigger
somebody
spaceship wins.
unless somebody shows up with a bigger spaceship or bigger guns, guess what? You own it, right? Until they take it from you. So they get out there and they're like mining this cavern that has like some sort of whatever moon rock that they're trying to get to, and they're like draw on each other and like, okay, I'm gonna shoot the shit out of you. Well, I mean, if you take a gun into space, it's like, and it's like,
Is that how it would be?
it's like then you're like Neo in the Matrix. You're like,
Everything's going in slow motion.
Is
Yeah, it
that
would, right?
Is that how it would work?
I think so, because the recoil is the same as going forward because of the low gravity. We already talked about this. Everyone who doesn't understand what we're talking about, go back and listen to the last podcast. But so the recoil is going to be higher than what it would be on Earth. Where on Earth, where bang, bang bang, you hit, you shoot a gun, bang bang bang, right? And then bullets go everywhere. In space, it'd be like bang bang, and then you'd be like, fly backwards.
I don't know if that's the science.
That is that is
So-
a surmised scientific
So what happens with
for you guys.
Remember the spaceship was going like 240,000 miles an hour or whatever it
Wrong,
was?
3 miles an hour. But continue.
No, you remember that last
yeah,
week?
Yeah, 2,000 something wild.
I thought it was
Right.
24,000.
So what
Right.
if you shot a gun like in space, not
0.2 miles an hour. Super slow, incredibly slow.
a gun?
He's making this up. He's had a few high noons already.
I'm like, wait a
It's a
second.
very astute observation, Nick.
How did this? So how's the spaceship go so fast through space?
I don't think it does. I think you get out there and it's all relative.
I think we could pull up the podcast. You said it was going like 200 miles an hour. Or
Yeah, but that's on
200,000 miles an
Look,
hour.
miles per hour is only relative to you on Earth. Okay, like jets flying through the air. Holy shit!
There's no hours up there, so it's miles per space or whatever. That's really slow because there's a lot of
There's
space.
no units of time and space, friend. You gotta think outside. Expand your mind, Todd. Nick gets it.
Who is this guy? Who is this guy? What are we doing?
Minutes per space. All right, this is the metric that we're talking about. Speed in space. Minutes per space. All right, so look, when you say miles per hour, that metric is only relative to being on Earth. It doesn't matter if you're out in space, miles per hour, and like piss off. That metric doesn't mean shit out here. Knots might be a little closer, but still, you run across anyone in space, and they be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Speaking of,
We need space increments. Be like, I don't know what the space increments are. Miles, knots. They're like, no.
So we got nautical miles. We got space knots.
We need spacical miles.
remember how I was going to tell you about or send you the Robert Edward Grant thing, and I forgot to. But
I thought you were talking for okay. Look,
So anyways-
I'm gonna be totally clear. I thought you were talking about RG3 for the longest time. I'm like, this motherfucker does everything. He does not miss.
So
he's in space.
Yeah, he did. He ain't in the league.
He did miss.
He ain't in
when
the
it
league.
came down to it, he did miss.
He missed. He missed the NFL.
Yeah, he missed
he had
that
a
championship
good season.
round.
He had a good season or two.
Yeah. They drafted Kirk Cousins that same year.
Yeah.
He's still in the league.
So I was telling you about Robert Edward Grant. He was talking about pyramids on this podcast I was listening to, and you were just talking about like speed and space, and it made me think of the speed of light.
Okay.
And he said that it's either I think it's the latitude of where the Great Pyramid is at, matches the speed of light. The numbers exactly.
Let's back up here.
So the latitude that it sits on, if you look at what the speed of light is, it's like 200,000 some like meters per second or something.
Yeah, but latitudes and longitudes, like all those are based in like degrees, minutes, and seconds. So how does it? I guess you lost.
It's saying so. Just the numbers, how they play out. The first nine,
Okay.
the first 9 numbers, or the first however many numbers are in
What were
that
you?
sequence. They match right up. So like the speed of light and where the pyramid is sitting on our latitude match. It's just an odd thing because they had so many other things like the circumference of the Earth at the equator is in their mathematics that are on the pyramid. So it's like there's so many coincidences in terms of them knowing a lot about our globe and our.
What about? I've heard something about the pyramids being like, in trying to make energy.
Oh, I think there's something about that.
Yeah, like I've heard other people be like, "Have you been there?"
It's
I
like-
was like on a Rogan podcast a couple ago, and the guy was like, "Have you been there?" Rogan's like, "No." He's like, "You should go there because there's like a vibration. There's an energy you feel. You can almost hear it." It's like, what are you talking about?
Well,
You're talking
that's
about
what they
a
were
stone
saying.
structure?
Is they built it to create energy.
It's a theory.
I mean,
that
it's a
way,
theory. Yeah, it's a theory.
For some reason, I'm not getting service down here today. 1 bar.
We're in the iron
You
box.
want, you, want,
Just today.
you want that Wi-Fi?
Hey,
Do you remember the password?
remind me. Yeah,
Maybe?
it's like
Yeah, I can type it in.
makemybutthole.com. Something erroneous like that.
It's a
Hold on, is this the Hearst Family Network?
no.
Regular, degular?
Yeah, that's it.
Password is
That's it.
password is ILOVDICKS.
Type that in there.
I was gonna make you type it in.
I didn't want you're gonna be
Hey.
like both of these.
Bo. Start with Bo. You know
How'd
about
you,
Bo?
how'd you like the Achilles? Nobody laughed at that crap the other day. I was like, both of these Achilles are hurting.
Jeez.
Everyone's heard of Achilles, but have you heard of his brother Bophides? Hey, what were you telling me the other day about the heights of 2 different pyramids being the same?
Yeah, he was saying that
Expand on that,
Yeah.
if you would, please.
it was Robert on that, I forget what it's called, but he had said that it was just like across the globe, like on the opposite side, like somewhere over here, South America has like a pyramid that's like to the exact like centimeter of the same height as one of these other ones. It's almost like it wouldn't be a coincidence. It's almost like they had the same information.
Chad, shall I call?
Yeah, have him call in. Let's have him kick off his weird topic.
Tell him that I mentioned the birds. If that's something he's into, that's
Be like,
perfect.
call in
segue.
with the most random thing you can think of right now.
Tell him
We'll
it was
talk
my
about it.
son that brought that up to me tonight. Now it's just chewing. We gotta talk.
I was like,
I
we're
wanted to say
silent.
something, so I got close, but what I want to say, tonight's hats, first of all, Nick, sweet Madeline Youth football hat, by the
Yeah,
way.
I had to find something new.
Choice. The one I'm wearing was superseded by a hat that I received from somebody special. You know who you are. But I had to roll it back to the hat I was originally wearing because I'm trying to save that hat for a future podcast and potentially my fit that I got picked out for Friday. I don't know about you guys, but I'm that kid who puts out his school clothes for like the next couple of days.
I can picture that.
I got it lined out, right?
Yeah.
Because like my mornings are cut so short. Like I have to pick out what clothes I'm wearing the next day, the night before. Otherwise, it's an absolute.
It's chaos in the morning.
It is. It's total chaos. Like, do we not know what we're doing? Have we not done this for the last 2,000 days straight? You don't know where your clothes are, Tony? They're over in the closet. They're in the dresser. Go pick some out. If you don't pick them out the night before, it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm lost.
What do I do? What do I do with my hands?
I don't know what to do with my hands, Ricky Bobby. I'll figure it out when I get there.
Here's what I do. I have to walk by my closet to my bathroom. So I look and I go, boom, boom, boom. Yep, that's what I'm wearing. And I get in the shower.
That sounds like total anarchapulco to me, friend. You are living dangerously in my book.
Hey, that's what I do.
I'm glad I have a uniform somewhat, like a Western facilities shirt
Yeah.
and like some khakis that are regular colored or gray or whatever. Pretty easy.
Those are issued, huh?
Speaking of anarchapulco, I feel like we should
Who do
go
I
do
hear
a
in
podcast
here?
from there.
Someone speaking through our stuff?
It's the walls are speaking.
The TV?
It's like a party.
Something happening?
Trying to get on this podcast? Let's go. What we doing out there?
Carlos is like, TK's dropping all this bacon and meats all over the floor.
Who is it?
Sorry, I'm showing Shoddy the basement.
Oh,
Hey, what up?
you guys are in the mix.
Oh,
Hi guys.
Come on in. We can hear you through the wall.
Okay, bye.
I could tell Shadi about Quinn saying that must be her song.
Hey, dude, these tequila seltzers are danger. Danger. If you haven't gotten into the high noon tequila,
Tell you, these are going to be mind erasers this summer.
dude,
Okay, look. So
this
here,
is, yeah,
the
beer.
Ready?
Regular
the
beer.
speed of light, right, is 29,979,245 meters per second.
Okay.
That's right.
The north longitude of the Great Pyramid is 29.979245.
Really?
It's exact.
That's crazy.
So it means that the people who built the pyramids obviously decided the location based on what they knew the speed of light was. So they knew the speed of light as well. So they were obviously very
I got
advanced.
you, brother.
They were advanced.
Give me that one. Give me that one because I got the skinny boy.
That's wild. Here.
Spanks.
That is I've never heard that. And
I
that's and there's always this stuff like we were talking about. They built this to be an energy source and just all this craziness
So,
about the pyramids, and now there's this.
if you had to guess, where do you think that information come from? Like, look, take aliens out. Take some other third party not from this planet. Take that out of the equation. Whatever, because that's just stuff we can't substantiate. We don't know it. We don't understand it. Take it out of the picture. How do you think they got that information? Let's just say it all came from the people here on Earth. Where did they come from? Was it they had some crazy, super smart guy was like the Rain Man of all Egyptians back in the day? Were like, yeah, this needs to go here, that there. It needs to be this tall. And everyone's like, well, shit, this guy's a smart guy. Let's follow this guy.
Maybe.
Or do you think it was like common knowledge? Like, yeah, okay, we got these slide rule type apparatuses, and it's just everyone knows that's where the sun is, that's where these stars are, this is this angle, yeah, this is a predominant height. Most stuff was built that way, or some delineation of that height.
Could it be that we are losing? So we're gaining in technology that we're aware of, like creating things and doing stuff like that, but yet the wisdom of the stuff that they had knowledge of being, say, closer to creation or whatever, that they maybe just had other information we don't have, or we're losing.
Very well could be.
Like
That's a good point, Nick.
think about like a not modern, but think of like American Indians, for instance, right? Like they were in tune with weather and things, right? Like they could,
all of these old like ancient
but we're losing that.
were all like in tune with astrology too.
That's what I'm saying.
Where the
So-
stars were, where the sun was, where
Yeah.
the equinox and the solstice, all of that stuff is kind of crazy how it plays into a lot of these old structures.
But we're advancing so much that like the individual is getting dumber. Like if you think about like technology is advancing, all of us can use this. That's great. Usability is the easy part.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding how to replicate this. So if the person or people who created the technology go away or advance and move away from the earth because they're so smart, they leave us here with this stuff. None of us built it and put it together. So what do? We can't replicate this. We're
I couldn't
dumber
agree
for it.
more.
So as we advance in technology, it makes everything more convenient for the people who are using the stuff, but we're not the makers.
Do you go back to it was like
That
episode
almost plays into the theory of like civilizations that were advanced and then that ice age hit. Mm-hmm. Because then there wouldn't be any passing along of knowledge because pretty much everybody got wiped out.
Yeah.
Right? Where now we haven't had that happen. So the knowledge of building this, the original maker of this is not alive, I'm sure. But there are many people that know how to replicate this now.
But what'll be
we
crazy?
know how to use it.
What'll be crazy for people though who come in that next civilization though will be the fact that like a lot of our stuff that we're making now isn't biodegradable. So you're gonna be finding a lot of relics where back then they didn't have the technology necessarily to do what we're doing. So they had a bunch of stuff that they were using that was biodegradable, except that massive pyramid or whatever that's still there.
Okay, I got a couple points here. One, this relates back to a conversation we had about convenience and subsidizing what you have to do as a person based on convenience. The second one is, look at it this way. So think about the language we use, right? Every culture, has a language that is the predominant language, their way of communication. So a lot of people use English, some people use Spanish, Portuguese, whatever it be, right? Where did that come from? It seems pretty complex. There was somebody who did the same thing. Somebody came up with it, somebody built it, but everyone knows how to use it. Could any user of it go back and build it themselves? Probably not, right? I couldn't. I don't know that anyone in this room could go back and be like, okay, I'm going to start a language from scratch, and we're going to be able to communicate on a level that we do now, right? Whether it be from the actual words, the characters we use to write down the words,
it starts as code.
the simple
it's understanding,
reflections of how you speak, when you put, question marks on something, or whether you, whatever, all that stuff, all those nuances of language. Yeah, they've been developed over, thousands and thousands of years, but I think even the building blocks of it, like somebody like went out on a limb here and was like, okay, this is what we're going to use. We're going to go from grunts and pounding on the ground to this. You're going to make these sounds. Everyone can make these sounds. We're going to move forward from there. You think language evolves that fast? I mean, take the context of civilized people. What would I would ballpark it at 5,000 years. What do you think?
I have no idea.
I mean,
I don't even know where to put it.
Somewhere in there? I mean, you're talking about like BC, AD. You lump all that in with whatever you believe in, right? Just mentally, what you would think about how long people have been able to communicate. Technology aside, how long could people be having a podcast between three friends? You take it back, okay, like three people sitting around in a cave by torchlight. Could it have been done 10,000 years ago? I don't know. 3,000 years ago, probably for sure, right? Because like written works have been, I mean, you could probably peg it at 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago.
it goes.
maybe.
The pyramids are 6, I think.
Right, but you're talking about hieroglyphics at that point. You're not. I guess I don't understand hieroglyphics well enough to understand how they translate into a spoken language. But when you're talking about characters in an alphabet, you're not talking that long ago. So you're almost talking about this and then apps and offshoots of this, which is a very complex point to jump off of. But from then, like, we can get it from there. We understand all that for the most part.
I'm lost.
It doesn't take long.
What is
Well,
the-
I'll get lost. I'm right behind you. I'm talking. I'm almost lost. We're driving with no map, Todd. It's fine. We're gonna end up somewhere.
It
Oh,
doesn't
remember that?
What I was going to say, it doesn't relate
a
to
map.
it doesn't relate to creating a language, but talking about learning something. Obviously, it's not creating because they were using the alphabet. But when I worked in the jail, inmates knew that we had to read their incoming and outgoing mail. Like we had to scan it basically. Like it was part of our job, right? So as they were like sending it out, we'd look it over, briefly pack it back up, and send it out. And then when it came in, we'd open it, make sure there wasn't any contraband and other stuff in it. But when it came in, we'd open it, make sure there wasn't any contraband and other stuff in it. But when it came in, we'd open it, make sure there wasn't any contraband and other stuff in it. But when it came in, we'd open it, make sure there wasn't any contraband and other stuff in it. it was against the rules, but they would try to create
Code.
They would do code, right?
Yeah.
And so they would say like they'd give like a legend, right? Like 1 or A actually equals this minus this, you know what I mean? So that
Sure.
they could do it, and then they'd write it. But like if it wouldn't make sense because you couldn't probably sound it out how they did it, but we'd never let them, like we'd send it back to them and say like, you got code in here and we can't do that. But it was interesting to watch how they would try to make it so that we couldn't tell.
So what years? What was the time frame when you worked there?
I think I started, I was 21 or 2, so that would have been like 2002 or 3, 4.
Imagine if you were doing that in like 2017 on. You would have been like, dick pic, picture of a butthole, dick pic. You'd be like, I've scanned 1,000 dick pics today. You can't send these, y'all.
Which I don't see like what the big deal is.
All right.
How you gonna break out of jail with a dick pic?
You know? Like,
There's some code in there somewhere.
Hey, man, I see.
Some code.
I don't like the angle you took this picture from. I think you're
code.
trying to sell someone a message.
So I want to hear more about this. You want to go out, Carlo?
Carlos like, I ate all the meats off.
He's like, let me out of here.
Come on, son.
At least he didn't bark this time.
He knows what's up.
He's kind of part of the podcast. Last week he laid and didn't make a noise. The other couple he'll bark to get out once, but whatever.
I
He's
think
just
he
kind of
knows.
he's kind of integrated.
He's like, the lights on. There's a computer up. People are cracking beers open. Something special's going on.
So Nick, I want to hear actually more about like what level of jail was it? Jail, prison? What level? What was it?
Yeah, are we talking
So-
about Oz
And I
here?
No.
and I want to hear about this because I've watched these shows of like, what is it? 60 days in or 90 days, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where they're the actual jail is sending people in
I can give you like a real
to
quick
try
like,
to
rundown.
get more feedback of what's going on so they can help clean it up. And
So
it's crazy.
so I was at not a prison. So like these are people who are not guilty yet, right? It was like 180 bed facility, and usually like at all times we would have about 90 to 100 like people in Story County who were housed there waiting their trial for whatever reason, or because they couldn't post bail or whatever it was, or didn't have bond.
All sorts of
Everything,
crimes.
but again, like think about us like being in like Van Buren or Kalamazoo County, right?
Sure.
Obviously, Van Buren would be more like what I was at, more rural.
Sure.
And then, Kalamazoo would have been like a way bigger one than 180.
So are you like short-term processing? Like I see
So-
Van Buren as like, you're talking about 3-4 days.
No.
Where Kalamazoo would be
Well-
like, you're here for a week.
It depends on what the charge is, right? So, like, if someone comes in for a simple misdemeanor, DUI, public intox, it's like a book-in, drunk tank. Like, they never even make it back to general housing, right?
Sure.
Ours was booking, and that was like you housed people in there, men and women, glass. But people are coming in through the vestibule, and you're booking them in, and you're putting them there. They see a judge in the morning or during that day if it's during the week. But if the judge holds them, they got to at least stay there for a while until they can post their bond. Usually most people do. But anybody who has to serve a year or less does it at county. Usually if you get sentenced to a year or more, they send you to a state penitentiary.
Okay.
Like you're going to Jackson or something,
Yeah,
right?
right. So we had a lot of people, some had work release and stuff, so we'd have to let them out in the morning to go to work, where they could actually get out, but they'd have to come back and stay the night because maybe they were doing like, say, 3 months, 6 months, different stuff. So we're housing those people as well as the people who are waiting trial and stuff. But because we were a 180 bed facility, we had a lot of room, so we would house federal inmates with our extra space because they paid like $100 a day per federal inmate. So the county would make money on housing them. So they'd ship them from Des Moines, whatever. But the way the setup was, you had booking, and then you had like a room off to the side of that would have like the work release people so that they'd be close to exiting, right? Mm-hmm. But you go down a long hallway or whatever, and it was called like, I forget the name of the pods or whatever, but you had this like 46 bed area where it was almost like an embassy suites, right? You had this giant common area in the middle, and then you had like double decker. You had like a lower level all the way around, and then an upper with like tables and TVs and stuff in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I've
Right?
seen on these TV shows.
So that's like what it was like. I would always, when I was there, I would be like at the desk amongst all the inmates who were walking around. I'd play cards, euchre with them and stuff. Like just that's the interaction. It's called like kind of like a open deal. I mean, no one's harmful.
Hustling on some darts. You know what I mean?
But it can get
No doubt.
It can be though, right? You get
Well-
if you're in a pod with a bunch of
the most
hooligans.
Yeah, but the people who wanted to be in, it was called a pod, but you wanted to be over there because you had the most freedom over there because
Okay.
you're out all day, you're only locked up overnight in your actual cell. You know what I mean? For the most part, you're freely moving and you get to do all these games and watch TV and do all that stuff. So if you are going to cause problems, then you end up over on the other side, which is like now you're in a room with only 4 other people. You don't have all the same stuff. You don't have as much TV time. It's tighter. You don't know who you're going to be in there with.
Did you know? Let's back up a little bit. Did you know anybody's like what they were in there for?
Everybody.
So you
Yeah,
knew
you
like
had
this
to,
person
right?
as soon as they walked in, you're like that person's in here for this. That person's in here for that.
So as a detention officer, like we would rotate our positions. So like for like 2 or 3 days, I'd be in like master control, which means like a cop is pulling up to the vestibule or whatever I'd have to open the garage door for him. He'd pull in, I'd close it. Then I controlled every door in there. So as other officers like me were like walking around throughout the facility or whatever, they'd either radio like, hey, master control, I need you to open this. A lot of times I'm watching all the cameras and I would see them coming up to it. So I'd open it in advance.
Yeah, making sure it's down.
So that was like one role, right? The other one's then booking, and there was usually like 4 or 5 of the detention officers in there. Like we're basically doing all the intakes. So it's like
you're processing people as they
So
come in.
when you're in there, you are definitely knowing because I'm putting in all the information. I'm doing all the fingerprints, all that stuff right there. When you're in the back, you know, like when they come back like I get all the paperwork. Plus it's in the system. So you see it, and you see where at, like the history too.
Sure.
And it's not history based on like what you're looking at like a background check. I'm seeing history just of them being there. I can see all the charges they've been booked on in the last 20 years or whatever it is.
Was there any time where like somebody's coming and is like, man, this guy's gonna be a handful? And you're like, we're gonna mush this guy's face like from Jump Street.
You know, like I said, when you're in a county like that or whatever, it's frequent flyers for sure.
Sure.
Like it's extremely crazy because like you'll hear we're like this. I know the guy's name too. I'm not gonna say it, but he got like a 5-year prison sentence, and then like a year and a half later, he's been coming through booking, and I'm like, we just took that dude.
Right.
Like, how in the heck?
Here we are again.
That's how the system works, though.
So they spit him back out, and he came right back in.
Yeah, I mean, you get so many like notches off for so many different things, right? Like he gets sentenced to over a year, which is good because he knows all the time he's going to do is not at county because it's better to be in prison. A lot of them don't want to do a year. They'd rather go a year and a day. They'd rather go to prison because it's even better than county.
Like, what do you mean? Like the accommodations or?
Just, yeah, I think like everything about it is just a better environment for whatever, like recreation.
And what's funny is that show, I think it's 60 Days In or whatever, is mostly at county facilities.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I think it seemed like it anyway. There's sheriffs and stuff, and they're trying to clean up the jail. So
there was some crazy stuff too. Like, so after I worked there.
well, that's
4
what I was
years.
going to ask. Cause
I worked there 4
I
years.
love this. This is fascinating to me. So I just want to know, like, tell what you want to tell.
I worked
I want to
4
hear some
years
stories.
there, and like there was obviously crazy things that happened while I was there. But like after I had left, I'd heard like a guy had like jumped off in a pod. He had jumped off the top, like hung himself like off the thing, like
geez.
you know what I mean? Because he was on the higher side, but
Yeah.
he had like tied something off. He hit his button, said he needed to go to the bathroom, so he was like coming out or whatever, and that happened. I mean, there was other stuff like where I don't know if like just other, you know, detention officers like getting busted for like relationships with inmates. There was like stealing or something. You know what I mean? Like there was just different things that I heard, and I was like, man, it's just it's crazy.
So when you were at the desk in the pod, was it just you?
Yeah.
So no backup at all.
So there would be like there's a glass window that was kind of on an elevated deal. So the other side I was talking about that was more medium security. Like their desk was away from those people, and you'd look out in the distance and you'd see like glass windows like up here, 2 different levels, and so they could see through the glass like what was going on in all those pods, but they were away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like they weren't dealing like inside those individual pods with 4 people.
Yeah.
But they had a window that could see through to mine. So my backup was like behind the window and a vestibule gap between. I mean, they could have got there quick, but I mean, I think like, I mean, just be like I said, I didn't ever feel at risk because if you think about it, like we're talking about county.
Sure.
Like these people aren't looking at super long time. Some might be, right? But a lot of times, like they wouldn't want to jeopardize their case by doing something stupid. They're trying to fight it to get out. I mean, we had people who were looking at life in prison.
Yeah.
For the stuff that they did, you know, like there were some pretty nasty things that like some people did. Usually they stayed in, you know, they were on the medium security side, right? Or the high security side if they were harmful, right? But a lot of people, you know, I mean, they make it over there because they want it to be, you know, gravy, and they want to play cards and games and.
Yeah. So that show, which is fascinating, again, I want to say most of them are county, and most of them are in a more populated area. So these people are in there for a while. They're awaiting trial or whatever, but they're in there, and it takes longer for them to even get to a trial or sentenced because they're in LA County or they're in wherever, Oakland County or something. So it's super. I mean, you've seen some of this stuff, but it would be interesting for you to watch that show because you've kind of lived it in a way.
What's really interesting is, like I said, like being in Nevada, Iowa was where the place was at. The sheriff's office, or like the county seat, you know what I mean, was in Nevada, not Ames. Ames is where Iowa State's at.
Okay.
But it was just interesting because, like I said, there would be plenty of times when, like, I would be out on my days off, like out at the bars, and I'd run into people or whatever who had been in for certain things. You know what I mean? And then they're like high-fiving me, glad to see me, everything's all good. Like, they didn't see me as a...
I was going to say, was that always... Maybe you guys talked about this, but was that ever a fear of, like, anybody who was there... doing time, anybody who was a criminal, did they ever hold what was their perspective of you guys who worked there? Were they like, F you guys? Were they always like trying to like,
imagine
hem you up?
Imagine like, so like I'm the 22, 23-year-old kid that can relate a lot more to them, right? There obviously were detention officers who were like super strict, and I was asked to be, but it just came different, I think. Like when they see a younger kid, they're like, I know you're just doing your job. Whereas if it's an older person, they're like, screw you. You know what I mean? I mean, it just depends. Like, you got to create the rapport, but because, like I said, it's county, and a lot of people weren't, looking at super hard time. Like, running to people outside of there, like, wasn't ever a huge deal. In the jail, we're like getting the best of them. You know what I mean? Like, someone who's like addicted to meth and stuff, and they're like having all these problems, and they're doing dangerous things on the outside. When they get in there, they're actually like, now they're safe. You know what I mean? Like, now they're not causing problems, and they kind of calm down, and they're better. Yeah. But it's pretty wild.
Any crazy altercations?
Not really. I mean, I think that, like, just typically those things were happening like in the booking area when people were fired up. Like, one of like my like funnest stories there was one of my buddies had got a public intox, and I can hear on the like intercom at the vestibule or whatever, and I can hear my buddy like saying, "Is Nick here? Is Nick working tonight?" And I'm in master control that night or whatever, and I had like, when I saw the name come through, I mean, it's a unique name, probably one of a kind.
Yeah.
And so I had told them, like, hey, just so you guys know, this is a friend of mine, a close friend of mine that I grew up in Britt, small town. He was living in Ames, and he got arrested for public intox. Right. But, he's asking. And then I had a friend's uncle, like, who, like, I had partied and drank with and stuff, you know what I mean? And he was, like, a belligerent, he was just a belligerent drunk, and he was just being, and I was like, dude, you got to relax. Like, you were going to get tased in here. You know what I mean? Like,
and I'm about to get sewed up in here, son.
You're only...
You guys had tasers?
Yeah. I mean, we didn't carry guns inside the thing. You just didn't have guns in there. But tasers, shock shields, like all kinds of stuff. But
what's a shock shield?
It's just like just imagine like holding like two things like this or whatever. It's a big plexiglass thing that's got like all the electricity in it. So like if you're protecting yourself with it, right? If someone touches it and I'm pushing the button...
Really?
So you could press somebody against a wall and then like give
remember that glass ball that had like the lightning?
Yeah.
It'd be like that, except you'd be on your back.
But to not talk too much about...
You'd poop yourself and then you'd be laying on the floor.
At the very end, right before Angie graduated from Iowa State, and she got a job in Atlanta, and so I had told them like, as soon as she graduates, we're going there, and I was dipping out.
Sure.
But like, it was crazy because towards the end, I'd worked 3 years at, overnights. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. For the last like 6 months of my gig there, I'd made it to day shift, so it was like 7 to 3, great hours, 6 days on, 3 days off. Loved it.
Nice.
But I also then had the opportunity to do like jail transport, but not just like, I didn't do any local stuff. Like the 2 or 3 times I went, I one time flew out to like Humboldt County, California, like Eureka, California. Like we sat there for like 3 days to pick up a guy after he was done with their charges and to fly him back.
Like Con Air.
Denver. But no, I mean, just on commercial airlines, they just set us in the back. Like, we'd walk them through the airport or whatever, maybe put, like, their coat over their handcuffs and stuff. Like, it happens probably more than you know. Like, in an airport, you just don't know because you're trying to hide it. But
yeah, because usually you're hitting that airport bar and getting
lit
couldn't
do that.
Seriously?
couldn't do that.
I'm looking, next time I'm in an airplane, I'm looking at everyone.
Every time, I'll be up there going, watching everybody walk by.
Let me see your hands.
Yeah,
Let me see them wrists.
Let's see this guy
Let's see what kind of jewelry you got.
walking in like a gentleman. Yeah, right. He's cuffed.
But
That's crazy.
the one thing, like I said, when you're in that APOD, you hear a lot of stories. You know, like these guys would like kind of brag themselves up to probably like seem tough. You know, but this one guy, he had all of his paperwork. So I like called him on. I'm like, yeah, I hear you telling this story about all your money and how awesome of a drug dealer you were and how cool you were and all that stuff or whatever. I'm like, do you have any proof of this stuff? Or he goes up to his room where he's got his like court stuff in his like tote that he had or whatever, and he laid it out in front of me or whatever, and it was the most. So when they found him, or not found him, but he had like a standoff because he was a big meth. He was actually a lawyer in Boston or something. Somehow got busted in like the Omaha, Council Bluffs area or whatever.
Huh.
Like had a pretty big operation going for meth from like the West Coast, East Coast. They were moving it right through there.
Sure.
When they arrested him or whatever, besides like the gun charges and all that stuff, he had, I want to say it was 20s and below, $20 bills and below. They found $250,000 in garbage bags of 20s and below.
Damn.
So like denominations of 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s.
Either you're working amateur night or you got
But
something going on.
Maybe some of them $2 bills too.
But he
Got
says
them weird $3 bills with Bill Clinton on them.
that's what the paperwork said is what they had found. That's like part of like the documents of what they found, right?
crazy.
But here's what was mind blowing. He said that he had no idea. He said at that point they were so like high on meth all the time and doing all their things or whatever. He goes, we were just, because it was small bills and they didn't want to deal with small bills, they were just taking the small ones that they got and we're just putting them in these garbage bags and pitching them in the closet.
They were like, all right, we only deal in hundreds.
That was like loose change. That was pocket
Part
change
of his
to them.
case was saying, he goes, I don't believe it. He goes, I think they planted all this money because he goes, either we were really kicking ass and we didn't even know it, right? Because he was like, he was shocked when they said it was $250,000 worth of those types of bills. He's like, we probably could have taken a break and wouldn't have had to work so hard had we just looked in the closet. You know what I mean? Because, but if you think about it, that's what they
but
had.
they were high on meth.
If that's what they had in the low bills, like he goes,
Yeah,
we were
I'll
dealing
split.
with the Benjamins. You know what I mean? He goes, that's what we cared about was the $100 bills, right? And he
Sure.
goes, we just pitched all the other stuff like it was garbage.
Wow.
And I was like, that's nuts.
Jeez.
That's great.
$250,000 or whatever just stowed away in the closet.
In the garbage.
Wasn't in the garbage. It was still in the house. But still.
But in a garbage bag. It
the
was
gar-
one step away
For
from
that,
garbage.
the way he just talked about it sounds like it was basically in the garbage.
No, it was. He's like I said, he wasn't even aware that it was even close to that amount of money. He knew that he had garbage bags full of money, but he didn't know it was that much.
That is wild.
But he said it was probably a couple years worth of just them stashing it.
Speaking of something that's not garbage, hey, you chase like half a dozen M43s with tequila seltzer. It's not garbage, friend.
Is that your second one?
No, it's still the first one.
Oh, look
trying
at
to
you.
work through these.
Look at you.
Yeah, look at me. Look at me reserved.
I already moved to this big bite. It's good. No?
Yeah, what gets you there?
You don't like
What's
like
the-
tequila, or you just don't like
I like-
seltzers, or you don't, or what?
It just smelled
This is
sugary.
This is.
I don't know.
I'm looking
has
into
no-
my future,
No high fructose
seeing me
corn syrup.
floating around in the pool, and Todd and Nick showing up at my house, being like, "What are you doing?" Me like,
Oh, I
"Hey,
got pictures of that.
high noon tequilas, bro."
Hey, dude, it's 11 a.m. on Tuesday. Pretty sure the job site needs you.
It'll figure itself out. It's all right. It basically runs itself. I'm just here to answer emails.
I'm not going to use any more of my vacation. I'm going to use the entire month of June. And I'm
Oh,
just going to
hey,
come hang out at your house
I
while
was
you're
gonna
at
say,
work.
That's right. That's right.
We established the all-day TK party is going to be same as last year, last Friday in July. Mark it on your calendar. I don't know what number that is.
Yeah, we're gonna
Same setup as last year.
spread out the frisbee stations a little bit. We,
Dude, that might have been my favorite part.
it was fun. Nick is good at it.
Yeah, dude.
Nick was
I was even
dialed
thinking
the
Some sort
freaking
of
in.
sports freak.
I
of,
was
like,
drinking then though,
offshoot.
too. It wasn't like I was like sober.
No, I thought you'd been almost a year.
Yeah, but that's like the end of this month.
September
Right?
I stopped drinking.
September. Okay.
So what's the benchmark? When do we get you off the wagon?
It could happen.
I mean, not to be that shitty friend, but when can we pull you back into the general population?
It could happen
Speaking of
anytime.
did you guys listen to the Rogan with Russell Brand?
I
So
did.
good, yeah.
Which is great. Russell Brand is super intriguing person, intellectual, but just his accent adds to it, right?
It's so
And
great.
he talks
But-
fast.
Oh,
my
no,
gosh.
dude.
There was one time he was going off and he was like, and I was like, did I hit 1.5 times? What is going on here? But my point is you were talking about getting somebody off the wagon. Rogan's like, I don't understand why you can't
Do something.
do these psychedelics because you're a different person. And I'm like, at some point, Joe, you got to tell him you're not trying to tempt him to do what he knows he can't do. Like, but he kept going down that roller coaster. Hey, that was a long time ago.
Right. How
I
about now?
do-
Why don't we try it
It
again?
was so funny. I mean, I know what he was trying to get at, like get into an addict's brain about how
Sure.
does that
To
function,
understand, right.
which was great questioning. But it was just funny because the way he was phrasing some of the questions, it made him sound like he was like, dude, you like
I think we should try again.
you can do this, you got
I
this
think
now.
you got it this time.
Yeah.
I think you can keep it under control this time.
It seemed like it. Did you feel that way in a little bit of
Wait a
what
minute.
you were listening to?
You just told me a story about having a bath with a homeless guy that you welcomed into your apartment, but I think you can do it this time.
I mean, I was thinking the same thing when he was talking. Like he was like, I'm like, man, is he trying to encourage him to like fall off the wagon or whatever? But I understood what he meant. Like he's
Right.
saying like you can enjoy that experience, a psychedelic experience, and not party on it.
Sure.
Right. And sure, even if you are eager to do more and try it, but your whole thing is it's like eating food, right? Like it's anything. Like you should have the ability to consume anything you want within your own.
I think
Whatever.
that's where the disconnect comes because can you treat it as an experience, a one-off experience, and not chase the dragon of okay, I want to have this one-off experience all the time. Like maybe it's so much more appealing than what you have to go through on a regular 9-to-5 day-to-day basis to where you're like, I want to do this all the time because the escape is so much better than what I got to deal with every day.
Right.
But can you keep that toothpaste in the tube and say, I'm going to do this on a limited basis and recognize it for what it is. Okay, this is a mind-altering experience, and not lose yourself in the allure of this is great. I can spend eternity in here, and you can't, right? Because that's where you can't sustain that, like that higher level of how fast you're running, right? Like Waylon Jennings might have said it best. He's got a song that says something to the effect, I'm going to butcher the title of this, but I'm not going to live long at this pace, right? It's like if you're accelerating life into fifth gear all the time, you can't sustain that model for eternity. It's just not there. Like people aren't built that way. You need to stay in this area of somewhere between second and fourth gear of highs and lows. You can't always be maxed out because whether it be the limitations physically of a body of running it in the red all the time, or the tax it takes on your network of people, your loved ones, your friends. I mean, that might be one of the first things to go. You know, your relationships with your family, with your friends. I mean, you burn those out extra fast. But running at that accelerated pace, it's not sustainable, right? So
No.
to say
a
I'm
lot
gonna
of people die, right?
absolutely, whether it be by overdose, whether it be by just this departure from reality,
Or the dude who jumped off the balcony.
right?
Yeah.
Like what are you gonna do? You know, it's like, hey, you either become disassociated with the things of reality that keep you here, your loved ones, your friends, your normal way of life, or you tax your body so hard that your heart is like, I can't do this anymore. I can't pump this hard anymore, right? We're just high on cocaine all the time, and our beats per minute are twice what they should be. So you're living 2-to-1 in your ratio of days. I mean, you're just going to shorten it up. You can't live that long, right? I mean,
I would say like he's living on like a, like before when he was a drug addict and doing all that stuff, right? I mean, like he's riding like, these massive ups and downs, right? So it's like the rhythm is just, you're flying and then you're crashing and you're flying. And so it's like, it looks like that, right? Whereas like it should just look like nice and low and steady, right?
Sure.
And I think that's
you
probably
have peaks and valleys.
that's like
but-
where he's at now. And I think like he was probably saying like, in my process, he can't do any of it because he knows that it would escalate him to this level, which means the only way you go from this high, it has to go the same amount below.
Right.
So he's thinking like, if I start that roller coaster ride again, you know what I mean? I'm going to get back on that when he goes, I got things under control. But you could also look and say, like what Joe is saying is you're a different person. You know what good is now, and you know how like all he's worked for, that even if you did something like that and it was a negative experience or it was something like that you knew was going to throw you off, I think Joe is saying like, well, you know that you would want to strive to get back to where you were now.
I think from Russell Brand's perspective, though, like you've worked so hard, right, to regain some of those connections, some of the things that maybe you thought, I pissed all these away. These people, I've had to atone for these crazy things I've done. I've had to have these conversations with people that I've absolutely stepped all over. That you can quantify that. You can say, I can't do this again. I can't put these, not just myself, but I can't put these people that, I really cherish. I can't put them through it again. I can't step on this. And yeah, it might be a enlightening vantage point to find myself in to say, okay, I've had these introspective thoughts and I've gone down this wormhole of some sort of offshoot of reality that might, ayahuasca or DMT might bring you to. But the risk is way too high. The reward it's not even half as much as a payback for what the risk could be, and what I think when you see that bottom, when you're scratching on the bottom, you're going to do everything you can to never find yourself there again. And maybe that's like the fear of that. I'm sure Russell Brand might have a heightened level of risk acceptance than the rest of us have, right? Like the high is like, okay, that's not scary. I know what out of control feels like. That's not out of control. But I think maybe, the sidebar to that is I know what this could go to, and I know how bad and how deep and how dark the bottom is. There's no way I can go back
Did
there.
you listen to the podcast with Rogan? Did I hear him right when he said he jerked off a homeless guy into a...
I thought I heard
No,
that.
I didn't rewind it, but I was like...
He rolled right through it because it was like
That
real
was right
rapid
after
fire.
that was right after he bathed with the
whole
he bathed with the
bathtub.
homeless guy.
He jerked him off?
Well, I don't think it was the same guy.
Oh, different
I
homeless
think it
guy?
was the
Yeah.
same guy. I think the same guy was living the life for a
No,
minute.
but
And
his
then
point.
he chose the streets.
Yeah, his
over
point.
jerk offs and bathtub times with Russell.
Well, he just said
Brand.
that was it. He couldn't be in those confines.
Yeah.
Well, I
The
mean,
homeless guy, he was like, it was good. He was, he was obviously cleaner and well fed and
Right.
warm and all this stuff, but he could not. The structure at which you just come home and you do this, he was like, I gotta get back to these streets.
That's
I
when...
gotta,
it's way more
I gotta,
fun chasing this nickel bag.
Yeah,
Let's
I gotta,
go.
I gotta figure out which 7-Eleven I'm sleeping behind. Like, but he went back to it, which is crazy. Because I don't think, my guess is that Russell Brand, when he said, I'm going to do this experiment, I'm gonna let a homeless guy live with me and we'll videotape it, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure he wasn't like, all right, we're only doing this for a certain amount of time. He was probably like, we're just going to do this as long as this guy wants to stay.
Think about it.
See what happens.
If you transpose that on like what we consider a normal life, right? So even if we go on, 3-4 days out of a week of just like getting after it, we're hanging out with friends, we're having drinks. What brings you back to center? Maybe just a day at home, right? You're wearing, PJs or some joggers or some comfortable clothes all day on a Saturday or Sunday. You're around your loved ones, your significant other, your kids, and it helps bring you back to, okay, this is normal, and it puts you back on that baseline. So then Monday comes around, you got to go back to quote unquote reality of your job and things like that. Okay, this benchmark of this is normal, this is zero. That's what does it for us. what if that benchmark, that place of solace, that place of normalcy to you is county lockup, or is finding yourself trying to score, some crystal
is.
meth
You
or
said it,
something,
frequent
right?
flyers, right? You see 'em
It
all-
is
you
for a
see
lot
them-
of people,
yeah.
though.
So to them, that structure of, okay, I'm going to go get locked up, and then, okay, breakfast is at this time, lunch is at this time, exercise time is at this time, dinner's at this time. Like that structure to them, that's something they don't find on their own, where we find it every day with ourselves, with our self-discipline of, okay, I got to get up, got to go to work, got to make sure the kids are at school, whatever, got to be home at this time because the kids are going to be home. Like, we have that structure. They don't have that structure. Their structure is, okay, lights out are at 8:30, wake up, go work out, go get breakfast, toe the line of being in like a, correctional facility. That's normal to them, and that's their comfort.
Yeah. No, it's true.
That's why the housing, like, not housing, I shouldn't say housing, the homeless crisis, like they talk about like California and all the homeless people and stuff. And it's like, there's very few of those people that you could actually, like, you could grab their hand, walk them to a house or an apartment, but to keep them there would be damn near impossible.
Sure.
Like, you can say free of charge, here's your key,
Yep.
hop on in.
Yeah,
A
live
lot of
here.
times, those people will probably leave that place. They'll go find somebody, like a friend of theirs, who they know needs it more than them,
Yeah.
that would want to stay. They're not even going to stay themselves. You know what I mean? Like, it's not for them. Like, they want some money. They might put a sign up that says homeless, please help. But it's not because they want the show. They like their lifestyle, or they have a mental illness that keeps them from the stability that you
Sure.
would find from a house, or the responsibilities it takes to keep up a house.
Well, maybe a loosely affiliated story might be the Hatchet Hitchhiker. Todd,
Yeah.
you watch that, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Nate,
I,
did you see that?
I
was
remember
wild.
that when it was like the initial time, like
Right.
before that came out on that thing. I remember like when it happened.
So you're talking about it like a just transient dude who happened to be in a spot where something happened that got some publicity to it. Well, then the light was shown on him of, okay, this person saved somebody else. Okay. I mean, it's always great. If you have an opportunity to save somebody in the everyday life, I hope all of us have the courage to go do it, right? Because you're going to put yourself in harm's way to keep somebody else from being harmed.
Smash,
But
smash, smash.
But come to find out,
Dude was
come to find out,
nuts,
the
right?
story's a little bit stickier than you might think, right? There's right,
He got the guy that was giving him a ride all high and shit. And
right, right. Then you hear
Dude, that was nuts.
you paint the picture. You're like,
He went
holy,
on, like,
holy shit.
Didn't he go on like
I think he was
Leno
on, like
or something?
Camel or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He was like, hey, sorry I peed on your sign out by the road.
Okay. Kimmel's probably like, well, whatever, who cares? We'll just bring whoever in here. That dude.
Hey, so I was thinking
Speaking
about
of Kimmel, did you see his quote? Him and Aaron Rodgers, the feud going on.
Between who?
Him and Aaron Rodgers, a couple little quotes here and there.
I saw Jimmy Kimmel said he was gonna smack the shit out of anyone who tried to slap somebody at the Oscars this year.
Speaking of that, though, did you
No.
watch Chris Rock's special?
I did. I've watched. I haven't gotten through it all, but yes,
The
I
very
started
end.
it.
The very
I haven't
end.
gotten there yet, but
The last 10 minutes.
so the thing with Kimmel and Aaron Rodgers came out of his dark cave, and he was on a podcast like he always is, and he was saying something about they're about to release these. God, I have to look it up. They're gonna release these Epstein, some of this list, and blah blah blah, and then Kimmel
He
came
hates
out
it.
and
he's
was
on it.
yeah, because he said something about like whatever, like just keep your mouth shut, or it was a little feud, and exactly the backlash was, and I think somebody tweeted I think it was Aaron Rodgers' offensive lineman Bakhtiari was like, well. Got nothing to hide. I don't know why you don't why you care about
How many
this.
times has he been on that jet?
What do they call
Jimmy
that?
Kimmel.
The Lolita Express.
I'm gonna look this up.
So here's something I was thinking about on the way home from Grand Rapids tonight, and this is a total offshoot. This might take us in a different direction.
This is
So feel free to jump in, Todd, when you
yeah.
get the quote that you need. But so I got to thinking, take into perspective the culture that we find ourselves in today with, let's say, I'm going to start it and I'm going to end it with the same comment, is we find ourselves in a generation of grifters and snake oil salesmen. And by that I mean, look at all the bad things that are associated with, like a NFT, a like some sort of a digital currency, some sort of a, even as simple as like an OnlyFans type of account where somebody's selling something that is not actually perceived reality. Okay. By that I mean, you've got an explosion of people pandering to an explicit lifestyle of what 5 to 10 years ago we would consider very, very taboo. Very much, how are you going to explain this to the people in your family, the people that depend on you to, support them? How would you ever explain that? I don't think any of us here at this table can wrap our minds around that, because I think we all come from the same process of, if you're generating income, at some point you need to substantiate that to, your family, whatever. I mean, they're going to ask questions of, okay, how did you afford this? You didn't, something doesn't add up. Like, you fast tracked a chain here somewhere. So when you take somebody, like, let's say they're a social media model, and I use that term very loosely, by the way. You're talking about a destigmatized mainstream idea of, whether it be pornography, profanity, something that you've found a avenue of accessibility that is okay. Or by okay, I mean not as, like I said, stigmatized as it once was before. So you've got, you might have, somebody who's in their 20s who might be, I don't know their backstory, so I'm not even gonna paint that picture. But they find themselves today to where they have a subscription-based account based on an exploitation of either how they look or things that they can think of with, what would be proprietary information mentally to them. They're exploiting that to the masses like it's an achievable goal. So,
got a guest appearance. Speaking of,
Manny, how you doing?
first time.
Good to see you.
See ya.
Yeah. Oh, you never met her?
No.
Oh, I was like,
She said I've never been in here.
oh, I
said, wow,
I-
first time.
I thought somebody said, I'm like, wait a
Hey,
second. That was
Tony,
weird.
can you
That's
grab
weird.
me another?
Yeah, I got you.
You've dried up over here. Can I get the yellow one?
Carlos is still in here.
Let's see what I can do.
The limoncello?
Yep.
Ooh.
Oh, Italiano. The limoncello. Speaking of which, limoncello is not to be. Oh, I got you. I
Give me
skinny one. I
give me
got you
that skinny. Then I can put
Limoncello. Don't let anyone from Italy fool you. Be like, let's do shots of limoncello. Be like, hey, this is a sipper shot. This is
First of all,
cock one back.
I have a story on that.
Wait a minute, though. We got to
From-
finish his little
Yes,
spiel.
absolutely. Do we?
Well, no, there is something I want to add. There's a few things I want to add.
This might be a whole offshoot by itself, but it's just something I came up with, driving back, and I knew this would be just rife for conversation between the three of us.
I have a lot of opinions on,
With this-
or at least some like statements to make.
What
that
I
I don't know
feel,
if he's actually talking about the same thing right now.
what
He's totally lost.
what I feel, I'll get there. What I feel is like a generation that we're gonna look back on and we're going to look at as a lost generation, because this next generation after us has figured out how to monopolize and get to a point of a human highlight reel of, look, these are all the great things, right? I mean, we all see it in social media. When you look at somebody's social media feed, nobody ever posts, look, these are the last year of all these load times. No one ever posts that. Every once in a while somebody throws in a, hey,
Someone died.
right, something happened, something terrible happened. But for the most part, it's all, look at this. Like, this is me out on a boat somewhere. This is me out living, a great life.
Yeah,
in
it's
this,
all the highs
right.
constantly.
So
Cataloging your memories, though.
Yeah.
For
so
future.
on the
Those
surface,
good experiences.
on the surface, you're either like subscribing to this idea of, I wish I could have that, so I'm gonna try to get to where I can have that, and you're going to accelerate all the things that normally would take a lot of hard work and a lot of keeping your head down and not worrying about what everyone else has. But you're trying to populate your life every day on this highlight reel of, oh man, look at all these posts. Look at this person's post, look at this person's post, look at this person's post. These are all great times. So while I'm scrolling through social media, I'm seeing, why am I not living this fantastic life of just good times all the time? The other side to that is these people that are having these good times, for the most part, anyone who has a legitimate good time post to have, that's on the back of a lot of work, right? If you, look, this is kind of disjointed and all over the place, but what I'm trying to get to is, where does that leave the next people, or all the offshoots that are dependent upon that generation's generated wealth, right? So the wealth we're generating populates things like Social Security. We pay taxes, which go to myriad of different things, whether it be filling a pothole on a road you got to drive down every day, or the emergency
In
services.
another state, that happens.
Sure, that's another offshoot. That's another 4-hour discussion. But what I'm saying is, it's not just, when you look at the tips of all these waves, there's the lower body of what all these waves are generating. There's a lot of stuff propped up on it. My job that I do, that I get paid for, the not so great times of it are, me paying, like I said, paying taxes, the money that I give back to the state, that I give back to the federal government, that fill in and subsidize all these other programs and make other things happen. My question is, with this a high profile highlight reel generation that is right behind us right now, it's like, oh man, these people are doing all these crazy things. They're introducing, cutting edge ideas of, digital currency, or investment opportunities that end up going defunct, or built up Ponzi schemes. None of these things are generating funds for the things that we're doing, because we have this idea, whether we're cognizant of it or not, but we're paying for the generation that came before us, and some for the ones that are coming after us, because it's been done before us and it was done before them. There was this agreement that all of us came upon of, okay, just a portion of what we're doing is going to take care of older people. Do you think, these YouTube stars, these OnlyFans accounts that are generating hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, do you think they're paying their taxes into what's making the nuts and bolts of everyday life happen? Right? I don't think it's happening. And I think 30 years from now, we're going to look back, oh shit, we're short. We're short on a ton of money here, because it just didn't translate to the next generation. We got wrapped up in a room full of young adults making decisions, and there was no adult in the room to say, hey, wait a minute, what are you doing? Are you doing this other stuff that everyone else has been doing? And this generation is going to say, of course we weren't. That's ridiculous. Why would we do that? Why would we nobody cares about that. Those people didn't care about us. Why are we caring about them? Where inherently with us, it's, yeah, we're paying it, quote unquote, paying it forward to, national programs that pay for, that person who's getting a $400 check, every 2 weeks just to be able to, buy their medication or something like that. We all understand that, but I don't think that message is being translated to the people that are coming up after us, and most certainly not on the high income group that's right behind us. I just don't think that message is being relayed. I think there's so much of a culture that they look at it as a short-term win. Like, they step up to the plate and are like, either I hit a home run or I don't. If I don't hit a home run, I'm going to retool and I'm going to come back up to hit another home run. And every time I hit when I get my chance to hit a home run, I'm going to be set. And all I got to worry about is me. Like, this line of questioning is all over the place, but hopefully it's going to concise itself down to,
Yeah, can we land this plane?
what's going on here? Like, I really feel, it struck me as like, wait a minute. I feel like we're glossing over, we're toiling in problems that are coming up, but there's a huge beast of a problem that nobody has gotten to address yet. And it's it's the big machine that we all subscribe to, that is, I mean, for lack of a better term, the United States, on how you live your life. We all know Social Security, all that stuff is going to run out. Would be lucky to get any of it.
They've been saying that for 25 years.
Yeah, I think all of us have heard that ever since we got into the workforce.
Well, my dad also said he's been hearing that since he was a kid.
Yeah.
And he's almost 70 and he's collecting. So
Sure, but I mean, there's talk of, raising the Social Security age from 60 to 65 to 70 to 75. It's
I
like,
think it's like 69 and a half right now.
where,
no, 65.
where do we
Well,
stop?
To max out is 69 and a half. Like, you're to get the full max, you have to be
65.
In
Unless they just changed it.
in
69.
a world of how many views I got.
Oh, is there
on
three
YouTube
levels?
or social media? Is any of that
There
being
might be 3
considered?
levels.
I just don't.
Because my dad started taking it at 62.
They changed it.
The best part of me
Not
does
full.
not
He took it
believe
discounted.
that is being considered. And I think that runway is getting increasingly shorter, faster than we
Say
are
that
all
again.
paying
Rewind.
attention to.
Sorry.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if I can. I don't.
Hey,
I just
I
don't-
figured out the pause button. Hey, can you say that again?
I don't. Hey, just listen to the podcast and come back next week.
Look at that guy over there. He doesn't know what to do with his hands.
I think
Two
there's
first names.
I think there's a.
Tony.
I think there's a disconnect that is staring us in the face that we're not realizing is coming our way. There's a train on the tracks, and the light is there, but we are not realizing this train is coming. Todd, I want you to go. Yeah, I understand.
That's
I'm just not saying it.
That's the millennials.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that is.
Or
Look,
is it the generation behind that?
I think it's the millennials. I think they come up and look this.
Because I think technically we're millennials, aren't we?
I think we are.
I mean,
think we talked about this one time.
I think technically.
I think it was that I was thinking you have to start taking them by 70. So that's why I was thinking
Okay.
69 and a half. But 67 is the...
It's 67 for full?
Yeah.
Because my parents started taking, I think, or my dad did at 62. and
Everyone
then-
born in 1960 or later is 67, I think.
Oh, he was there in the 50s.
Yeah.
So he did 62 early, and then my mom just waited till 65, and then she got the full.
Yeah. So about... I don't know if I have any answers to what you were saying, but just to talk about well, like you mentioned only.
There was 1,000 questions asked. Just
Well,
say something. You're gonna
Yeah,
answer it.
exactly. But you mentioned OnlyFans, right? And
Okay. Love it.
I don't necessarily. I mean, I don't have it. I don't understand it. I guess I do understand it. It makes total sense to me in terms of capitalism, right? Like you
Sure.
still like if you have whatever you're getting behind the camera doing, whether it's nasty or telling jokes or whatever it is, right? If someone wants to pay you to do that and you can do it on a subscription basis, that's awesome, right? Like I think that's cool. Some people are going to provide different services and do different things and say different things. I think like that should be able to be done in any way, like no matter what it is, because
I
it's.
disagree, and I'm gonna.
But anyways, I'm just saying that
I'll
because
fill in the blank here.
well, I don't see like why you would want to hinder somebody or whatever when you have willing people willing to pay people for content. Now, that person has to be really good. I mean, whatever they're providing, because they have to
Not necessarily.
They have to build an audience.
but and they have to day in and day out keep those subscribers, right? So if they get used to a $2,000 a week income based on what they're having their subscriptions, being paid, like they can't slack off. So you're getting people in society who are, they're working. They're actively having to maintain the subscribers. They're having to give them the content that they want so they don't cancel. So they're working a productive job, and I think it doesn't always have to be nefarious activities that they're doing to do that. I mean, it can be anything. They can be teaching people how to make a paper airplane or something.
Yeah. Do you think those people have the top income?
Probably not.
Owners, right?
But
No.
like I always thought this back in the day. I thought like the only reason that like prostitution wasn't legal was because women would rule the world. Like if they could just sell themselves or whatever openly and freely, and you know what I mean? Like you'd have the best of the best with a path of men at their door or whatever, like, and just they'd be filthy rich, right? This is a safer, better way. No diseases, just looking at a woman behind a screen. I mean, I don't want to do it myself.
Right.
I don't want to watch it, but
I
I'm just saying.
personally feel like this comes down to a just because you can doesn't mean you should situation, right? You're taking the level of accessibility to an area that's dangerous. Not everyone should be accessible to some of this content that's put out. And I guess I'm leaning hard into the nefarious region of, or not even, maybe nefarious isn't the best word for it.
So you think it's safer potentially for do it the old-fashioned way, stripper goes to the strip club, gets on the pole, dances in front of 100 dudes, or can be at the safety of their home and dance around behind the thing and not have to be out in public?
I don't know. I don't think that's what I'm trying to get at. I think what I'm trying to say is that to kind of dance around the line of a almost a religious feeling and not the exploitation of sin. It just invites too many terrible decisions to be made, or bad decisions to be made, right? You're where maybe the court of public opinion might say, no, that's not okay to do, right? And then you would just have this conscience of, we shouldn't be doing this. This is a road that doesn't end anywhere where I'm better for going down it.
Yeah, individually, I don't think it's necessarily a positive for anyone. I'm talking about the person though who's being the capitalist.
I see,
Right.
and I recognize your angle of, okay, there's a market and there's a demand, and it's supply and demand, right? If people are asking for something, and you're in a position to be able to deliver something that people are demanding, you should get paid for it, right? I mean, if people are demanding it, well, what if what people are demanding is not just counterproductive, but rudimentary, a demise to a lot of things that have been built on a lot of hard work and a lot of honest work from somebody to get all of us to there, and it's being underwashed by this cheap, short perspective gain of, I can do this right now. I can get a return on this right now. I don't care what the fallout cost is. There's a market, there's a ask, and I'm supplying.
Here's what I would say is this is modern day stripping or modern day prostitution.
Sure.
Right? In a very safer version of it. So we had it then.
But safer for what? Like, okay,
What I'm
guess
saying is it's not going to last forever is what I'm saying.
You're selling a disassociated reality. This is not reality. But
it's the same as the 1-800 numbers back in the day we would always see.
But what you're getting is you're getting people who are accepting what's being sold as reality. It is not reality. Do you think people
that's happened for all of humanity,
but not at this rate?
Yeah, okay. Doesn't mean you have to participate.
It was almost tempered. It was almost It was almost in a controlled state. Now it's not. It's gone so volatile to where you can't control it anymore. I mean, you've got people who, there was where did I hear this at? It might have been on Rogan. It might have been on a different podcast, but there was a alternate reality service that was offering. Have you guys ever seen the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
Right? Where he had basically an AI girlfriend, right? And he had like an earbud he would put in, and he could have realistic conversations with an AI, and it was like his girlfriend. It was for people who were introverts, people who had problems with having that those social interactions of somebody from the the opposite sex, or somebody who they were looking for a partner. There was a company that had a program out that was very similar to that, and they shut it down, from what I can tell, ethical reasons. And there was this huge backlash. Like, when they shut it down, they started offering suicide prevention type links to to websites, to material that would help you cope with the loss of somebody who was real. Right? These people took so much strife in losing what was nothing, but they thought was something real. Right? So when you tie this back into somebody who's having, like an OnlyFans account, who's offering up, hey, a subscription service, I'm going to show you an intimate level of me, and you can do with it whatever you want. I'm just selling a product. I don't care what you do with it, right? That being the person who is running a subscription-based service, to somebody who's consuming it, who is taking it out of the context of what it's being offered, right? Somebody might be, okay, look, this is nothing more than something to stimulate, dopamine in your mind, and maybe a sexual fantasy or something of that nature. But you're taking it farther than that. Now you've got a ton of people who are expending income that they've accrued through working, which normally would be applied to buying a home, investing back into a community, accruing wealth for their family. That is no longer there. That's going to some of the third party that is offering up this offshoot of reality, which now you have accepted as, this is reality, this is real. This most certainly is not real. This is a whimsical offshoot of reality that you have assumed and taken in your life as being real.
Well, in my younger, stupider days, I mean, I would compare it to like me and my college roommates, like Girls Gone Wild subscription. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Stupid.
Sure.
Obviously, I'm not doing it now, and I think like this doesn't last forever either. There'll be some other iteration of people finding their way to get this content. You know what I mean? Like at some point, we'd be like, man, at least the money was going back into the like hands of like individual entertainers. At some point, it'll be like Google and Amazon will have these like digital, just things they kick out, and they're the only ones who get the money because it's all like a non-real person, right? And it's not any money going back into society or whatever. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't always have to be, women or men doing dumb stuff. I mean, it could be a bodybuilder or whatever, like lifting and doing things like to help train people or whatever it is. It's like the content and the subscription are valued at what the people value them at, right? It's like if I'm a personal trainer and I want to meet a lot of people and I'm like, crap, I can get 1,000 people watching my page or whatever, and they're willing to pay me $15 a month. That's a ton of money. You know what I mean? And all I have to do is do some curls.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, I think that and you were talking about like Social Security and all these different things and platforms like this, Uber, all that stuff, right? Like, they're businesses, right? When they give these checks to these people for doing this stuff, I mean, they got to pay taxes. You know what I mean? Like, it's there. They're getting their W-2 just like everybody else gets, right? Like, especially when they're making millions of dollars. But look at like our economy right now, right? Like, they're raising interest rates like crazy, right? There's like almost nothing they can do right now to get the unemployment rate to go down. Like, they're trying to crash the job market, and they can't do it by raising interest rates every month or two, right?
Yeah, but the offshoot of that is how many places have sufficed their vacuum of having employees? Still, nobody has. Everyone is still clamoring for more people to come work there.
That's what I'm saying. So think about it. Through YouTube, through Instagram, people are finding ways. They're being savvy and making money, and I think that inflation is going through
the office.
People are going and making incomes so that they can still buy all their stuff on Amazon and do all that stuff, and the government's losing control in terms of like being able to do really anything to stop it. I think, right? Like housing prices and all that stuff. Like, if people are going to keep paying, 25, 30, 40% more than the house is worth, you know what I mean? Used vehicles, all that stuff.
That's where the market is then.
But
right?
people are finding ways to make money. I just don't think that the government they haven't accounted for the fact that people are able to use the internet to sell stuff on eBay, to sell stuff on Facebook Marketplace, all the different things that they can do to make extra money, side jobs. Yeah. I mean, people are willing now to hustle. Well, I feel like there's a lot of people out there hustling.
When it's even like this, right? We do a podcast, or you do a YouTube video series that gets popular. Like, whatever, you get enough subscribers, you get advertising. Mm-hmm. So some people are making money that way. They don't need the subscriptions because they have enough subscribers to their free channel that now advertisers are like, hey, can we post banner ads? Can we do this? Can we do that? And all of a sudden you have all this advertising income for the same thing.
Like so the morning Bible recap that Angie and I have, like, so we do our plan and then the Bible recap or whatever, they're always talking about join our Patreon, right? Because like we do this and it's free, but if you join Patreon or whatever, you pay us like basically the equivalent of $1 a day. Yeah. Helps them like keep their production going and stuff, right? And like it probably makes some money and pays them so they can do it full time. Right. But yeah, I when I saw the stuff like that coming out, like when it initially came out, I was like, man, it's brilliant. Like, you have like people that did other things that were maybe like sketchier in my book. What I mean?
But you say it's brilliant. I find this nothing short of terrifying.
Like,
I don't
the like if someone like likes me talking, right? If I felt like I had like wisdom and I could just get on an OnlyFans page and talk for an hour and people were willing to like be like, I love listening to Nick because he comes on there every day and he rambles on about how his day went and I love listening to him. Like, I get it. You think like maybe society, are they really that dumb? They want to listen to Nick every day? Like, that they're willing to pay him $5 a month? I'm like thinking like, well, $5 individually isn't that much, but at scale, when it's 1,000 people paying me $5 a month, now I'm making $5,000 a month. I might not have to go to work at Western anymore. You know what I mean? I can just focus on what I'm going to talk about for an hour every day. Sure. Like it makes me creative. It would make me like have to think about this business. Now I have more time for my kids. I have more time to do other things. It's just another. But again, I'd have to be really like intelligent and have the ability to like maintain that. You have to be able to sustain the quality content nonstop too.
There's just part of me that is like waiting for the other shoe to drop with all of this like on demand and at your fingertips, very specific content, that people can indulge in. Like I get it. It's great because now everyone has. You can go find a podcast to listen to, a a website to go check out, a streaming platform that you feel connected with, and you don't feel so alone anymore, right? I can't. Maybe the best way to put it with how just broad my questions are is that I can't put my finger on it, on what it is that I'm waiting for the bad part of all this. And maybe it's for nothing. Maybe it's the trepidation of something new and you just don't know. You don't know the answer to, so it's weird, it's different. But when you look back at, generations before us and you see this overwhelming push for greatness of, hey, there was a whole generation of people that, the idea was be better than where you came from, the people that came before you, and let's go achieve great things collectively as a group.
I like that idea.
Yeah, I think it's great, right?
But now they look back in history and they think those guys, you know what I mean, were assholes and racists, and you know what I mean. Like you look back in history and you're like, we're way better than they were.
Well,
we're having more enlightened than they were. Yeah, they did great things or whatever, but they also had a lot of shortfalls, right? We're improving and we're staying bad all the same.
Yeah, but I think the improvements far outweighed the shortcomings. I mean, you're talking about the generation before us. They powered through things like, integrating races. You're talking about taking a race of people who looked at other races as inferior and integrated them into everyday life and said, you know what, this is bullshit. You're a human being just like I am. You deserve in every chance to be afforded the chances I am, right? And it was a collective. The masses thought more that we should than that we shouldn't. So it happened for everybody, for hundreds of millions of people. There's part of me that thinks that where we're at now is there's this very small subset of look at these people doing incredible things. These people are on boats in Turks and Caicos and on private yachts and having bottle service at places that I'll never ever go to, but I wish I could. And now this is what greatness is, of just having a maximized life, of not leaving anything on the table, of just having extraordinarily great times that aren't achievable for everyone. The only way you can achieve those things or have those opportunities is if you have a bankroll that allows you to do it. Not everyone is even going to get close to having that. But everyone thinks they can. So now you have everyone striving for this. If I didn't hit that mark, then I failed. Or I came up short. And I got to figure something else out to try to get there. It's so, to me, is so not a sustainable model. You can't have a fulfilling life based on what you think was great. It always has to be based on the metrics of, well, my highlight reel doesn't even come close to this person's highlight reel, so it wasn't any good. I think it just so short sells everybody on this planet. I mean, we've talked about like what is success to you. Okay, I mean, ultimately it's what you decide success is. And you have to be content with, this is great. I think it's great. I think this is a good spot to be in. I worked hard to get here. This is great. Well, somebody might work their ass off to get to a 5, and you might flip open some sort of social media and you're looking at a bunch of 10s. You're like, I'm not even close. What I worked so hard for to get to means nothing. So how do I get to that 10? I mean, do I, start exploiting the things that I have to get there? with some sort of subscription service so I can fast track all this and get there?
I think there's a lot of people out there that think like you just described. And there's so many that are like, I don't care what people are putting on social media. I don't care. There's a generation of instant gratification, of likes. I think does Chris Rock talk about that? Likes instead of love. Like, this is about, I mean, it's parenting. I mean, it comes down to that. The kids are going to be kids. They're going to make their own mistakes, but culture, when we're passing things down, it comes to that. And we're describing like this gloom and doom. And I don't the glass is half full to me. Every culture, every generation has to deal with the next one, and there's issues. Humanity keeps moving forward.
From the bottom of my heart, I would love to agree with you. But I think when you take us out of the vacuum that we're in, we talked about this earlier, the vacuum, because we've surrounded ourselves with people who think like we do.
No, I think this was going on for a long time. We just didn't see it because nobody had social media. You can see it every day, however much you want. I think the percentages are the same.
I think what you think the majority is
felt.
the minority, because it's the allure of hard work for paying something off doesn't shine that bright to a lot of people.
It's different. They have their gratification is instant. They're not going to be able to. They might not be able to grind as hard. But what I'm saying is, over the course of humanity, generation after generation, the next generation is a little different than the other generation, right? That's how it goes. There's different ways to be a criminal. There's different ways to succeed. There's different ways to exploit. There's different ways to manipulate. There's different ways to communicate. As technology goes on, it changes things. I don't think the narrative is any different. We procreate and have children because we want to pass along who we are in the world. So hopefully they make it a better place.
I think like, I don't think a lot of people like said see the yacht and like, I mean, that's not like what I'm shooting for. You know what I mean? Like, no part of me like sees someone like on that and I'm like, yeah. I'm failing because I don't have that. I'm like,
how can you not look at social media and think that overwhelmingly that's the idea?
I'm like a glass half full person, right? So like when people were talking about like, whenever someone would say to me they hate Facebook, right? I'm like, well, I grew up in Iowa. All my family and old friends are there, right? If I wanted to communicate with them or whatever, if I wanted them to know how life is going, I'd post a picture, right? So they can see that I had a kid. Right? I don't need to call them and tell every single friend I ever had that I had a kid. I can post it. So I've always been like arguing that it's a way for me to connect with people that I don't see very often anymore, but that I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But another amazing thing about social media, and you think about like, it's connection. And someone's like, we're hyper connected. We don't need connection. Well, think about people with disabilities, autism, or other types of syndromes and things like that. Now they have groups and communities. They're not left alone on an island in their small town of Mattawan where there's a few kids with Down syndrome, right? Now they have a community where these Down syndrome kids can communicate and be in a group.
I agree with what you're saying, but that is, you're looking at 10% of the overall deal here, because let's face it, a Kim Kardashian, they're not about that. I mean, you're talking about this is a highlight reel of people who are successful. And you're right. There are networks to be promoted and be capitalized on for, I'm not alone anymore. There is somebody else who might have, a physical or social handicap that now I can connect with this person. And I'm not, walking blindly in the darkness. There's somebody that can relate. There's somebody's just like me out there. Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's the shiny side of the coin here. The dark side of the coin here is this, for lack of a better word.
You said the Chinese side of the coin.
Could be. For lack of a better term, the dick measuring contest that social media dissolves itself into of, look what I have. Look at these fun times I've had. If you're not doing these things, then what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm living a normal life here. But my life isn't filled with, drinking 1985 Dom Perignon. Okay. Yeah, I'm not talking about having A5 Wagyu steak served to me in a golden briefcase in some sort of weird...
If I'm eating a steak like that, I'm posting it, though.
True.
I
Me too.
have to,
I'm going to be the first one to post it.
In a
But
golden suitcase.
What I'm saying here is, it's like there's... Yes, you are correct. There are those opportunities to be had. But that's not how it's being used. That's not how...
I disagree.
My feed is... I'm not seeing any D-bags too much.
Well, I was just going to say, though, like, think about most of the stuff that we've talked about on this podcast. We've consumed through some sort of social media.
Sure.
So we can go down the YouTube trail of whatever you want. You can end up on an OnlyFans page that's got some risque stuff. Or you could just keep going down a rabbit hole if you're in a motivational mood or this or that or whatever, and you could stumble across something. So even somebody who's depressed going down the wrong rabbit hole might all of a sudden have this moment of clarity that I'm gonna go on YouTube and I'm not gonna go down this one. I'm gonna search this side just real quick and see what happens. All of a sudden boom, their mood changes. They're this, they're that. Like they find somebody that's like helps bring them out of their depression.
Sure.
Through social media. I think that happens too. Now, the comparing and the seeing somebody else's highlight reel and looking and thinking you're not good enough, I'm not good enough because I don't have that.
That's on you.
I didn't get 1,000 likes.
Yes,
Absolutely.
But
That's
you're
where
looking
parenting
at
comes
it
in.
through the lens
But
of
it's
341-year-olds. You're
But
not
hold on.
talking about it through the lens
Hold
of
on.
a 16-year-old.
Correct. I was just going to get to that. That's our job as parents to try to help our children understand what their world kind of looks like and listen to them tell us how it actually looks so that we can coach them through it, right? Any situation that they're in, way different than when we were young, right? Right now with social media and Snapchat and everything else, like you can't imagine all the trouble we would get in, but it's the same trouble that they're going to get in because that's what they have. But it's no different than the temptations that we had growing up of whether it's, who knows, sneaking out of the house or going to this party or whatever. Hey, the landline, you just didn't need your friend to call the landline. Otherwise, you were out. You could just be wherever you wanted to be. Yeah, those temptations, our parents had to coach us through. These are the ones that we have to coach our children through. So we have to have an understanding of what's going on around them so they can face it. Right. Because we faced it. It was just it just looked a little different.
Yeah, but we, not just our parents, but we had our peers. The next generation doesn't have peers that understand that.
I disagree.
The next generation has peers that understand, okay, well, why are we not going to, spring break in Europe? Why are we not maximizing this one life we have to live? Why are we not capitalizing on that? Why are we not, getting a short gain off of selling something for a price that is far short of what it should be priced at, because we know we can sell it at that price and someone's going to buy it. Like if you took, get on soapbox here for a minute. If you took
for a minute,
if you took
1 minute and go.
If you took, set the timer. Set the timer. You guys can wrangle me back in after this. If you took the actual cost of what you should be paying for nude pictures of somebody and put it out there, no one would pay it. But when you put the market cap at, it's about $15 a month.
What?
Okay. Well, now you've got a ton of people saying, I can afford that. You see them tits. You know what I mean? Like that's.
Do you remember the 800 numbers when they come on? It's like
that's what I'm saying. Look,
$5.99 a minute.
Let me wrangle this. Let me try to get this into a shoot here.
I got in a lot of trouble, I think.
So when you figure out what the price point is that people will buy it at, and disregard what the cost actually is, now you got a problem.
Tony's economics 101.
But
Y'all.
it is. Hey, it's super high value.
makes sense
It's super
somewhere.
high value. They're just.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Makes sense somewhere.
Hey, they're crowdsourcing it, right? It's
what-
super
what-
high value.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely
they're
they
just-
are.
But
Yes.
how are any of these people? Look, this is. I'm glad this is late in the podcast because hopefully anybody not
Is
of
it late?
age
Where we
has
at?
stopped listening at this point. But at some point, you're gonna have to explain to some people that you care about that love you of why you sold pictures of your butthole for $20. How does that make any sense?
Let's
Hey,
test
man.
this.
Hey, great Lamborghini.
Yeah.
How'd you get that? Well, come to find out, you're gonna need to sit down. I gotta talk to you about something. Really?
Let's test it.
Really?
Let's start an OnlyFans for you. Just so people can stare at your beard.
Beard. Watch it grow.
This room
You don't
isn't-
have to say anything. You just have to stand there.
This
Every
room
night.
isn't big enough for all the money we're gonna make. Is what I'm saying.
Garbage bags full of money.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
That's right.
look, how
We're
are
only
you?
counting the Benjamins.
Nobody's asking themselves that question. They're just like, I'll figure it out later. The ends is more than enough for the means, right? Like our vacations, our lavish lifestyle, that means way more than how we got here. So I had to, show my butthole as Mike Honcho in Playboy.
No, it was spread my butt cheeks as my contract. I just wanted to let you know that.
I knew what it was. I just don't want to say it.
That summer you went away to camp. I just wanted you to know.
At some point, that has to be had. That question is going to be asked.
What has to be had?
How did we get here?
Mike Honcho
What's
spreading his butt
What's our
cheeks.
origin? What's our origin story, Mike Honcho? Funny you ask. I've been waiting for you to ask this question, young Tony. Why don't you have a seat?
What's
You know,
your
I'm a-
origin story?
I'm a
Mike Honcho.
I'm gonna tell you how we came upon these riches.
Oh my god.
And it was this
Nick,
beehole.
you need to start talking.
I lose my train of thought.
I'll be honest, I'd much rather listen to you.
Some people just can't handle the truth.
Vegas. You know?
Potato. But look, what I'm saying is, like, there's.
I think we just
I like-
discovered you're half
I like-
full. I'm half full. He's half empty.
I like to look at.
I said the same thing. I love how what we're trying to say here is
I like to look at life as
trying is the key word to that.
as short term and long term objectives, right? And when I feel like life in general,
Nick, we
with
cannot
life in
let
general-
him do this.
People are gonna think though it's
what
like
the
us
people-
against him.
it's what the people want,
Right,
Just
right
let-
now it is.
Just let it happen. This is what the people want.
The three people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
the
six
six-
people
Six-
listen to this.
No, I think last week I counted it was 6.3.
Hey,
Look,
it's on the up. I know what you're saying though. I get it.
I feel like there are
How
way
do you know what he's saying?
You don't understand
This
what he's
is
saying?
like Shakespeare.
because you got to pay attention.
No, he's just
you gotta
saying.
pay
he-
attention.
He's just saying he thinks of like past and future, and he's just thinking of it all.
He's
right?
very whimsical.
I think you're
Hey,
just.
I've been called some foul shit in my day, but whimsical is an all-time low. All right.
I think he's just at that. Tony, you're at that age right now where I think you're like, you're gonna start losing track. You know what I mean?
Like I'm gonna be that curmudgeon old man. You're
Yeah.
gonna be like, Tony,
Like,
you need to calm down.
He's slowing down. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
with the times, and I think like he's gonna end up being that grumpy, like wishing he was still back.
Get
in,
off my yard.
in 2010. You know what I mean? He's like
Yeah.
he's over all this technology and this other stuff that's ruining everything.
Yeah, you guys can take your Faceagram in your space book and you cram it. All right,
Facebook.
this shit is not real.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Yikes.
But
We're doomed. All right. Look, if you're looking at
Hey.
this square in the
Hey.
podcast, we're doomed.
I think it was about an hour ago we were on the and I was looking up the Jimmy Kimmel Aaron Rodgers stuff. I pulled it up then. So Aaron Rodgers made the comment that like that list is coming out. I'd love to see this list, this Epstein list. So Jimmy Kimmel,
Wait a minute, what was this list of people who like chartered jets or people who visited the island?
people who have been there.
Okay.
There's some list that's supposed to come out. So Aaron Rodgers comes out of the darkness, goes on the who's the guy who's in the feud with Brett Favre, the
Pat McAfee.
McAfee. He goes on that podcast, says, love to see the list. Jimmy Kimmel goes on a show and claims Aaron Rodgers is a tinfoil hatter for wanting to know the names on the Epstein list.
His stock just
Tinfoil
went up
hatter
in my
meaning, alien conspiracy guy.
Mm-hmm.
So then he goes on and says this, blah, 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 blah. And then David Bakhtiari retweets Jimmy Kimmel's monologue and says, tell me you're on the Jeffrey Epstein client list without telling me you're on the Jeffrey Epstein client list. And then he posts his monologue about him saying Aaron Rodgers and his tinfoil hatter,
I think Kimmel was one of the names. I saw the potential list.
Yeah.
Or
yeah,
they knew
exactly.
They knew the people who have flown. They just don't know there's actual clients.
Right.
That's what they have.
Sure. But the funny thing is his offensive lineman,
Yeah.
some dude gets punched in the mouth.
Hey.
I got my quarterback's back.
Hey,
Tell me you're on the list without telling me you're on the list. I loved it.
we can segue into, since we're talking about football, Aaron Rodgers probably going to go to the Jets, I heard.
I heard I
Talking.
saw a headline.
Talking.
Does that
They're
make any
winking at
sense?
each other.
It's so weird that it would be like where
Wink,
Brett
wink.
Favre went.
Wink, wink.
And that's a path then to Aaron Rodgers coming to the Vikings. Because it was Jets, Vikings for Favre.
Yeah, but
Which would be sweet.
I hope
old
your
is
team
Aaron
does
Rodgers?
end up with
You would
Aaron
take
Rodgers,
Aaron Rodgers
and then
right
a
now?
race to the bottom.
My prediction
This guy's over.
and what I'll...
Hot
when
take.
I want
listen,
to go hang out in the dark with him.
when I
I do
lay my
too. I do
head...
too.
That's
when
not,
I lay my head on my pillow tonight and I'm saying my prayers before I go to bed, I'm praying that tomorrow the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins to the Ravens and sign Lamar Jackson.
How dare you say that
well,
about
they're not going to trade
one
him.
of Michigan's
Oh no, they did.
finest?
They franchise tagged him, didn't they?
They would have to move Kirk Cousins, right? So they do a little swap there. Then Lamar comes to the Vikings, stays in the purple, just a different
Cool.
shade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jefferson
Lamar
and-
Jackson is intriguing.
They're an instant Super
Good.
Bowl
Hey,
contender with
no.
him.
Good luck being the bridesmaid and never the bride.
No,
what's gonna
Vikings.
happen.
No, that's all they're missing.
I don't think he gets you there though.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
When was the last time a quarterback like Lamar Jackson won a Super Bowl?
dude,
Right.
he's been close. Like
When was the last
the Ravens
time?
were dominant
No.
a couple years ago. They were good. And
Did
got-
he win it?
No, they didn't.
And,
but
and
I'm
who
just
did they
saying
lose to?
that year that they were there. Who did they lose that game to in the?
I don't know.
To go.
Probably like a Patrick Mahomes or
think it was.
When was the last time
know.
Minnesota had a standout stud that was like, this person can carry us there?
Adrian Peterson,
Exactly.
but a running back.
Adrian Peterson.
Randy Moss.
Adrian
Moss.
Peterson.
Brett Favre.
Adrian Peterson can have a 9,000 yard rushing season, and he's not going to get you to the playoffs, let alone the Super Bowl.
The Vikings, Kirk Cousins is the one holding, even though his stats and everything he has, and yes,
solid. He's a solid quarterback.
He's had the greatest comeback of all time. It's all good. I get that, but they just, and some people would say this year their defense was just too horrible to do anything or
The
whatever.
greatest comeback. Wait a minute, let's back up here. The greatest comeback of all time. Go.
Vikings
Okay.
this year. They came back against the Colts,
They were
like
down
down 33-0 at
33?
half.
Yeah.
Against
The
Matt
Colts.
Ryan,
The Colts and whatever. It was down
Yeah.
33-0
Yeah,
after half.
it was Matt Ryan, yeah.
who has the two
Worse.
worst games ever. I don't think this is a Vikings mountain that they've climbed. I think this is more of a Matt Ryan hallmark of like
Yeah, Matt Ryan's a borderline Hall of Famer though.
borderline or the worst player of all time.
No, he's got his stats are up there.
Yeah, except for two of the biggest fall on your face games of all time.
Could be. Yeah. But I'm
Just
just
saying.
saying.
I'm just saying.
I think Lamar Jackson, Justin Jefferson, and they're
I agree.
They got
I
some
mean,
young-
I
they
agree.
got some young studs.
He is dynamic. I'm just questioning that type of the Michael Vick exciting quarterback.
inside in Minneapolis.
I know,
I
but
just think that
it hasn't ever won, though.
you're saying
I'm talking about winning a Super Bowl. I wanted Lamar Jackson for the Lions for a while until Jared Goff had a good year, and then I'm like, I don't know if we really need it. But I was looking at the offseason going, well, if we could have a good enough season, maybe we can get Lamar Jackson to sign as a free agent or come here. Well, so I'm with you. I love his talent. He's dynamic as heck. But when was the last time a quarterback that is like the athlete
I mean, guys
running
over there,
quarterback?
Vic, Mahomes, I mean, they move. Hurts, I mean, they're all moving now.
Hurts does, but he
Kirk
didn't win.
Cousins doesn't, and Kirk Cousins falls at a brush of a thing. So, like, when it's like...
Right. No, I'm saying, yeah, like, but Mahomes doesn't ever run first. He just can scramble.
But the scrambling and extending plays, which Lamar Jackson does too. I'm just saying, for me, I would rather... Like, I liked Rich Rodriguez for Michigan because those games were fun as hell to watch. Because the quarterbacks they had were running around and it was a blast.
Denard Robinson.
I would like to watch my team play that style versus...
Listen,
where's
I love the
Denard
talent.
Robinson at
All
right
I'm...
now, though?
I don't know, he had a decent career in the NFL, actually.
Yeah,
He played running back in the NFL for like 4 or 5 years.
yeah. I mean, I'm with you. Like, I would take Lamar Jackson as well. Like, I would, but I'm just that they don't come around very often. Yes, you have to have a running quarterback, but like Mahomes isn't a running quarterback.
No, he's extending plays, and
Yeah.
and that's what I'm
So
wanting
like
to see.
Aaron Rodgers does that too.
Yeah, exactly.
But
That's
these
what-
guys are pass first guys.
The hardest part about watching the Vikings with Kirk Cousins, like I said, statistically he appears as if, and then
Right.
he comes back and he wins games and it happens. I just think that like when it's like you have this quarterback like where you like legitimately think that the guy can put it on his shoulders and win it. I'm like wanting to see Josh Allen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Mahomes. Like I want to see those types of quarterbacks that are just you can see it. I've seen so many times on a third and 9 and a guy like waves his arm on Kirk Cousins and he just decides to bail. Like,
Yeah.
stay up, dude. Try to do something.
Nick,
But Stafford's that way sometimes
talking
too.
to two Lions fans,
And he won a Super Bowl.
it's cute to see someone with the naive hope in their eyes that just this one player can turn our team around and we're gonna win.
No,
We're gonna
I'm
win a
saying
Super Bowl.
He just wants to watch it.
I'm saying
More
I want to
different
watch
brand.
it more. I would enjoy
Sure.
like the quarterback like extending a play, sprinting around, diving for first down.
We all would too.
I would love that. It would be way more exciting for me to watch, and then watch him and Justin Jefferson. See what that opens up for
Or-
Hawkinson.
Or the alternative is to watch your favorite player
Well,
just die.
I can tell
Just
you this.
die on a team that can't win.
I can tell you this. Like, it would be more fun to watch. Justin Jefferson's stats will go.
Oh, for sure.
He doesn't throw to wide receivers.
It'll be tough for him. That's why he wouldn't want it, but he wants to win. He runs good routes. They're going to lose.
He's the best wide receiver in the league.
They're going to
He's
lose
amazing.
Thielen. They're going to lose Thielen. They're going to
That
lose
doesn't
Dalvin
hurt.
Cook probably.
Yeah, but Calvin, KJ Osborne's good.
Yeah, but they got to draft somebody too.
And they have Hawkinson, right? They still have him under contract. They're going to lose Dalvin Cook.
I think so.
Free agency? Like,
Just-
gone?
Yeah, I mean, I think those two guys have to go for space, and they want like Dalvin Cook wants money. It sounded like they weren't having good discussions so far or something.
Dalvin Cook to the Lions.
Come on down to Detroit.
There's some good running backs.
He's a
in
good player.
Dirty cousin.
Did you
of the
see any of the
Vikings.
combine?
Yeah, I saw some.
Oh my!
See that quarterback? I was telling him. Anthony Richardson?
He's only 20. He looks like a man. I mean,
Anthony Richardson's only 20 years old.
not even 21.
I have yet to see, besides this draft, more line players run sub 540s than like this year.
Oh, it happens all the time.
Like speed is no longer one of those like you were born with it attributes. It seems like everyone's like, yep. If you're a primetime player, you're running a sub 540.
Oh, all of them. That's been for a little while. Yeah, the top offensive linemen run 4.7s. Yeah. Offensive tackles, these guys are athletes.
At 300 plus pounds?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't believe it.
100%.
I'd love to see that stat line.
I'm pretty sure that. What do you mean? What stat line? I'm just saying the majority of top like offensive tackles all ran sub 4.9.
How many top? How many? What's the collection group you're talking about?
Offensive linemen.
See that sneaky move right there?
Yeah, it was good. Offensive linemen.
Yeah, but how many elite offensive linemen are there? There's not.
All right, so just go backwards.
There's
and
not
go,
120 plus. There's not 4 for every team.
Yeah, I think most offensive linemen that get drafted, like not the necessary centers and the guards, but the guys on the outside, are
The tackles, the ends.
yeah.
Defensive line, then you're saying.
No, offensive even. They
Well,
run.
that's
they're
tight
running.
end.
They're running sub fives.
I believe it for a tight end, but for a tackle maybe.
No, all right. Here,
But like
let's
a
look at-
yeah, no, I agree with you. A center or guard is probably not moving.
A lot of them are pushing like 315, 320 now in weight too. So.
I don't. Plus, I
Let's
don't think
see.
that's like a coveted stat for those guys.
No,
don't-
I'm
a lot
just
of
saying.
them,
I'm just
a
saying.
lot of them
these
don't
big,
even run it.
My whole point is these big guys are running fast.
I agree. Okay, no,
Which is
I
crazy.
I agree. Right, but I don't think you're gonna see that sub 540 time from any interior lineman, even a defensive tackle. And if you do, that's one of those standout. You maybe get 5 to 10 per draft class. This is such a conversation to have with either Brady or Chad. I feel like they have the stats to back this one up. The human stat machine, where is Brady?
He would. I don't know if he'd know.
He's out living that life right now.
Yeah.
Kid.
NFL Combine results. Here we go. Maybe.
Maybe. Gonna give you the aggregate.
Like I
average
told you
time.
last night, though, the guy who tore his ACL and then after that was done, still
Like we
went out
talked
and
about.
So we
Like
got
that dude was
38
probably
38 push or 38.
he was pushed through
225
like
reps.
man, this paycheck depends on me having an outstanding stat somewhere.
These are offensive linemen. 493. So I don't even know what position they play. 493, 495, 524, 531, 489.
Anytime you have a 300-pound individual running at a 4.8 or 4.9, that's
Yeah.
too much.
489,
let's-
497,
unnecessary.
496, 517, 532, 503, 502, 493, 492.
Will you sort that column from fastest to slowest?
No, it just listed it as top to bottom. So I don't know. Yeah, there's not a lot of guys that you're right. I think just the top guys maybe run that fast for offensive linemen because there was more over 5 than there was under 5
On
for
a
sure.
funnier note, there was a meme that I saw. It was Josh Allen running the 40 when he ran it for the combine,
Sure.
and he was running it like some farm kid. Like he was like,
It was the real run, though.
yeah, no, it was his posted time. I was like, man, I could run a more legit looking run than Josh Allen could. I saw it and it was like,
When did the Vikings pick? Do you know?
Late. They didn't even have many draft picks this year either, so
These Lions are coming for that top spot.
they're
I'm
like
telling you right now.
23rd.
year. In about a week,
We
I'm
got
gonna place a
we
bet.
we have 4
on our
picks in
Monday.
the first 2 rounds.
Or excuse me, on our Saturday morning breakfast, I'm gonna place the yearly bet that the Lions win their conference and win the Super Bowl. It's gonna cost me about $2. Payout's gonna be about 10.
Yeah,
grand.
we'll do that. We'll do it on Saturday for sure.
Take it.
Well,
Oh, speaking of which, let's what does the next week look like for us? We got breakfast on Saturday.
yeah.
Then
I
you're
leave.
gone. So what are we doing for a podcast next week?
I mean, I'll be back on Thursday.
We pull a Friday
see.
nighter or something. Wait a minute, you're coming back on St. Patrick's Day weekend?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
For,
be.
and the
Oh, dude, this
well,
is
and the NCAA tournament's
this
going
is
on.
gonna be a hot mess
yeah.
express because
Starting.
I'm doing to that Irish on Ionia thing up in GR on Saturday. I'm gonna be Irish car bomb
Yeah, that's on Saturday.
on Saturday. Like I'm gonna hit breakfast and
Yeah,
go
but-
drive straight north to just get absolute shit faced for about 12 hours straight.
I get back into GR at 6:30 on Thursday.
Do you
So
think
Friday?
we could
Saturday,
I'm
Sunday?
in. Whatever works.
I think
Sunday might be a good one because Sunday,
Or you guys just roll in here on Wednesday.
if we pulled a Sunday podcast next weekend, we would have a cornucopia of stories to tell. I think we could.
I mean, part of me.
I think we could stay out of the chaff that is.
part of me
getting
wanted
deep
to, like,
into stoicism and just stay in the high level fun shit.
Todd. I don't know if I can just hang here with Tony.
I will eat you up.
I would just been here like this for
You like it
for
good.
2 hours,
Nick didn't
taking
move.
it all in.
Nick didn't move.
We're gonna be like, Todd, where do you keep your tinfoil at? We got some hats we gotta build real quick.
I'm hypnotized by the beard.
I don't know if I can do it.
Nick's gonna have a disclaimer at the beginning. I do not. The voices and opinions spoken by Tony do not speak for everyone in this podcast.
I think that you know that I'm willing to sit back and listen and probably never say anything just based on like my past listenings. You know?
Yeah,
Sure.
for sure.
So
I am
think,
so waiting. Look, I'm going to shoot from the hip
Listen,
until
I love
somebody corrects us.
no, but I
And
fully,
no one has.
I fully expect.
So whatever I say
love
goes.
our podcast.
I do too.
I fully
do too.
expect though. Like I'm always
Show up every
confident.
week.
I'm always confident that he's gonna come full circle, and I'd give him probably the full 2 hours to get there.
Let's tease you with it. We're so
You know?
close.
You are
So close.
you are so patient, Nick.
You're finally like you're always just like, dude.
Well, God, I mean, at some point,
I feel like that guy from the movie Office Space where they're like, what is it you do here? And he's like, I'm a people person. Why can't you see that I'm a people person? So you hand the TPS reports? No, my assistant does that. I don't do that.
oh, that's great.
Okay,
fun.
look.
I
So,
love it. I
like,
love
in summation, social media bad? That's just my point of view. Okay, we're doomed. The next generation is totally giving us one right in the stick in the eye. Todd's gonna be gone next week on a sweet vacation. We might or might not do another podcast next week. I don't know.
Tell Lisa we might swing in on Wednesday. Just
Right.
keep a heads up.
Yeah, come on in.
I don't.
Where did we
Wednesday's
start?
Wednesday's a perfect day because like Thursday we play pickleball and Tuesday we squat. So, I mean,
It's a busy week.
I mean, I
I'll tell you.
think I don't think our pickleball is done next week.
Where did we start this podcast at?
So then, what
What are we
about
talking about?
Friday? And then what about Saturday? And then what
I
about
remember
Sunday?
eating pizza.
He said Saturday he's gonna be in Grand Rapids. Sundays after church is fine.
Let's let
Yeah.
it rip. I dig that one.
That's fine. I mean, or you guys can come here on Wednesday. It's totally cool.
I know. I'm down for whatever. Nick, I'm here for you, homie. You want to rip
The
one off
house
on
is
Wednesday?
open.
Let's do it.
Well, like I'm saying, we can just make it that as long as it's cool with Lisa, we'll just make it a daytime. You know that
Sure.
she probably won't be here.
We'll just
She'll be
talk to
doing
Brady.
something.
Be like,
you
Brady,
know?
Yeah, do whatever.
Brady, leave the back
that doesn't
door
matter
unlocked
to
for
me.
us. We're gonna walk in.
I mean, all we have to do is come in with your computer and plug it in, and then
Got it.
just like sneak right back out.
Got it. As long as I hit start
can't-
recording, we're good.
Yeah. Did you hit that?
I did. We are 2 hours and 16
Hey.
minutes, 17 minutes in.
I didn't get to mention it, but I
wrap
wanted
it
to tell Todd about the thing that I heard from that Robert Grant guy. But
You still haven't forwarded
Yeah.
me that, so
I
don't tell
know.
him that.
well, no, I just wanted to tell him.
I
that
thought
one,
we had a
that
special
one part.
connection.
There was just one part. I'll send it to you.
Okay,
You don't
please
want. I don't want you to like waste 3 hours. But
What is it?
Okay, tell him about it because I got to take a leak.
all right, and we can talk more about this whole concept later. I don't want to get into a crazy thing, but I can't even get into like the whole like backstory about who this guy is or whatever. I think he's a really successful business guy, but he's also into all of the, like I said, that pyramids and hermetic wisdom and
Sure.
like all that type of stuff.
Sure.
But he was describing how like basically like what you perceive and get in life or whatever is basically like what you tend to judge. So like if you're judging people in all these different areas or whatever, it's usually like a reflection kind of like on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you know it or not.
Sure.
But the one thing that stuck with me when I heard him say it was he's like, consider that you're the greatest like person that has unconditional love for people, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way to prove that means that your life has been probably pretty shitty because you've been hurt so many times that you've proven you're good at unconditional love,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like a oxymoron in a way, right? It's like,
Right.
So he was just saying, he's like, careful, like what you wish for and what you want. Because if you're seeking to be somebody who gives unconditional love, you're going to be given many opportunities to provide unconditional
To
love,
provide it, right?
which means people are going to hurt you a lot.
Sure.
Same way, like if you like want to be someone who is extremely courageous or strong, right? And that's like your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you truly are seeking that and wanting that, you're going to end up putting yourself in situations where strength and courage is required. So it's like you always just basically have to be, and it was just crazy. So he said that your mind and how you and what you think determines your reality and like kind of what you interact with in life, right? And so it's kind of the scenario where it's like if you're an activist by nature, you're going to be an activist for life. Like it's your nature to do these things that are, you know what I mean? You're always going to be disgruntled and seeking to fix and do this stuff. You're an activist.
Right.
What's the end goal?
Let me give you this reality. Skynet becomes self-aware. The year is 1995. And 300 million people die. Nobody is picking up on the premise to Terminator 2 here. I watched it the other day.
I'm like, I know I've heard that somewhere or whatever, but I'm just like, yeah, cool.
What were you guys talking about?
I just told him about that. Like I said, if you
the
want,
way
if you are seeking to provide unconditional love,
Sure.
the world and your reality is going to give you a lot of opportunities to provide it, which sucks because that means your life is full of like you
Strife.
basically
Shit.
like
Yeah.
feeling like shit because people are harming you.
suffering.
I feel like this is a connection that this is part of my, I wouldn't say disdain, but for these people who either by themselves or have been put under the idea of like hard individuals. If you were so hard, go be hard. Don't say that you are, because the people who are never claimed what they were, never accepted that they were. They found themselves there, and that's it's by no means their self-recognition or their friends' recognition. It was almost 2 steps away from their inner circle recognizing that they were that person. And that's how they came across that title. You know, like let's say Todd is the toughest person we've ever met. Todd's not going to say he's the toughest person on the planet. He's too busy carrying the water. Too busy just towing the line of being tough. He doesn't have time to tell us that he's tough. Us as his first circle of friends aren't going to say he's the toughest person we know, because we are too busy being in awe and chasing him because we want to be tough too. The people that are going to say Todd's the toughest are our friends' friends that might not even know Todd. Todd will never say I'm the toughest, because that's not his goal. That gets in the way of being the toughest. Todd being the toughest is what proves Todd's the toughest.
I wonder if it's like the same. I wonder if
Todd,
I wonder if it's kind of like that example. I've never heard.
I'm going to show you what's tough.
I've never heard Chad Heater say that he's a stick, an amazing golfer. Like I've never heard him say that.
No.
But I've heard over 5 or 6 people say that he is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because he
like
is.
Dave Molnar told me one time, he was like, "Oh yeah, Chad Heater, he's an amazing golfer." You've said it. You know, other people was like Chad Heater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The person never says it. He's like, "I'm a great golfer."
Right.
You just don't do it.
You think Chad will ever write a book on how great of a golfer he is?
No.
You should maybe. I've never seen him golf.
Because he's not that good.
Because he's too busy being great.
He's not
He
book.
ain't got time to write no book.
He's getting out yet.
I don't even know if Chad can read a book. I know he can golf. Chad, don't listen to this episode of the podcast.
Yeah, good thing you didn't call in earlier about your birds.
Call in about how many letters you know.
I told him when I was at the gym, he was benching. He had nice form on the bench.
It's no joke.
Yeah, he was pushing around.
Kid's
He had
a
like
stud.
185. He had a 25 on one side, but not the other.
Right.
Like,
And
well, he had 45s and then he had
had
a 25. But then he was like on his phone texting. I was trying to get his attention.
Todd,
And then we talked for like a couple
Todd,
minutes.
Todd, your brother not so smart. He's got
But
135 pounds on one end of the barbell, 25 on the other.
I told him
he's strong.
not to lift that. He goes, "Oh, I know." Yeah, because he was.
Yeah. Shut up, peasant.
He was in the middle of racking it?
No, he was looking down at his phone at something. I was trying to get his attention and like
text
wave at him, you know.
Chad real quick.
But then we ended up chatting for a little bit.
Yeah.
But I had told him, like, as I was walking away, I'm like, "Hey, you don't have a 25 on this side," because he had like the 45 plates
Yeah.
and a 25 on one, but he hadn't
he-
put the 25 on the other side yet to make it a full 185.
Did he know that?
He did. I mean, when I
Oh.
said, "Hey," I'm like, "Don't forget that," because like
Oh,
I
he
distracted
could've-
him from his
yeah.
lift, and so I
got
was
you.
thinking he was going to get down on the bench and go, which would have looked shitty because he would have, felt like
That would- Yeah, that'd have been
Would
weird.
have probably banged into my vending machine or something. Flipped the bar over.
Yeah, I got a free set of headphones.